good night. The order of this meeting is being called to order. We have the Commissioners' Informational Workshop, okay? Before we go into that, I would like to ask you please to turn off your cell phones or silence your cell phones. Additionally, we would request that no food be eaten in the Commission chambers anymore, so that is a part of our rules of procedure. And you will have an opportunity twice to talk. Once will be on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. The other will be brief public comment at the end of the meeting. You get 3 minutes. The board won't interact with you, but if you have a question during commissioners' concerns, they could answer it at that point. We would appreciate, since we have a room full of people tonight, that if you're in the audience, please respect when somebody's talking, when the commissioners are talking, so we can you all get a chance to talk. In regard to the comments on agenda items, committee department head reports are not recognized by the chair as an opportunity for you to talk on an item. So if it's a department head report and you wish to speak to the committee or the board about that, I'm afraid we won't recognize that. But any of the listed agenda items, we encourage you. All right, for our Commissioners' Informational Workshop, I'm hoping to talk to Mr. Dave Xavier tonight. Is he here? Sir, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure this board has its own questions, as per each commissioner does. I assume you're going to mention something about Public Act 214, so let me not stop you and just go ahead.
Sure. So I've been working with Ashley and going through and reviewing everything that we've done in the past and kind of taking a step forward as to where we need to go as to where we are right now. With that being said, where we ultimately want to be is a pretty large leap, I believe, from where we are right now at this point in time. It's a completely different structure with different personnel, different monetary amounts, different villages. And in order to get to that point, I think that we need to take a little slower maybe approach as far as the amounts of monies that we're looking for a millage in order to do that. And what I mean by that is although we are allowed to go up to the 1/10 of a mil, which would equate to approximately $130,000 or so, that we allow for a smaller amount and take that, and monitor how that is that it's going to help, how it's actually working, how it's benefiting the veterans of the community, how we're able to interact more with the veterans and helping them with their emergency relief, and evaluate that on a yearly basis to see, is that a good amount? Should there be a higher amount? Should we, go from there and kind of adjust as needed? We do have, obviously, things that we could potentially put on the ballot if it doesn't incur too much cost with the townships for November in order to help get this on track, in order to get it going. So where I'm at right now is in discussion with Ashley for us to be able to figure out, this is the amount that we're looking at trying to do. It's going to be a much lesser amount, I think, than the full amount, to allow us to evaluate how it's going to actually help people and how it's going to also affect people in the county. Because that's something that I'm at an impasse because of the fact that I have to advocate and want to advocate for my veterans, but at the same time, I don't want it to be an overburdened situation on the veterans of our county with taxes at the same time. So trying to find that happy medium is something that I think would be important, and also to help with the residents of Delta County to support and understand this program.
To give some perspective to what you were thinking about, sir, if somebody has a $100,000 house and you go for 1/20th of a mil, that would be $5 per house.
1/20th, yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know what you're going to be proposing, but speaking for myself, I don't find that intrusive based on what the veterans have done for us.
Right, understood. Understood.
Any questions for Dave? Please.
Thank you. I get my specs on. I get over 35, you have a hard time seeing sometimes. I have never given up my quest in finding out how to run veteran service organization the best way, the proper way for the veterans, for my sons, for my grandsons, for my grandpa, and all my other friends that have served throughout history, which I have a rich history in my family for. I have networked in the last month or so, and I haven't talked to you about it, but I have information here that I feel needs to be brought forward as a group, and I was told that maybe we could start a standing committee, which is something that we start with 2 commissioners and whoever else we feel would add value to our movement in making sure our vets are taken care of, which would probably be someone from your organization, maybe the disabled vet. Is that Mr. Whitty that's in the other department in your
Correct.
organization? I have networked with commissioners down state and administrators, and I haven't had enough time to go through everything because of all the other issues that I'm trying to deal with at the same time. But I have contact people here, Bud Norman, County Administrator. I'll tell you who it is later, just so that you don't overstep the boundaries and try to find something that I might have did wrong. Terry Kabuski, County Clerk, she can provide us with all the little administrative legal stuff that we need to do. Charles Scott, he's a veteran director for downstate. I've been doing quite a bit of work on this, but just not full-time. I talked to Dawn Curley, who is out of Gwin, Michigan. Have you heard of her? She is Congressman Jack Bergman's caseworker. She sent me a letter, says, "Good afternoon, Commissioner View. It was nice meeting with you last week. I did some digging and I'm still waiting for a couple of responses. And this is on veteran service organizations. I was told that Mr. Michael Wolf, have you heard of him?
Yeah, he's down in Traverse City.
Yep, might be able to provide you with some insight. So you've already contacted him on stuff?
On various issues from the past, not necessarily relating to what we're doing, but yes.
He is what she considers the expert in the funding of the Veteran Service Organization expansion, because we have an organization now and we're going to try to expand it. And I have his contact information. Like I said, my problem is with all these contacts and all this information, I think it's more than what one commissioner can handle. And I'm directing that to the chair to see what he thinks about it. But when I talk to the ones I have talked to, which I haven't listed here, they have programs, Operation Green Light for Veterans. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay, well, okay. And the number one thing that I get from all county commissioners that I've talked to is we needed to have service funding reports. I don't know if you have any of these records or not, but this is how they say we proceed to show the value of the program and its expansion. Treasurer's reports, operation reports, provide your current framework based on the need of today. I mean, I know very little how this organization runs, but I'm just trying to get input on the steps to go forward where we can make the good decisions to do what is proper for our county that matches other counties similar to ours. We need to know the future assessment of what we're trying to do, the true need, not just arbitrarily say we need this, we need that, but the true need. They said there's ways of doing that and these people can help us. And then transition plan for the expansion or the extension of all the services that we have to provide legally and wanting to provide as a county. So I'm just going to leave it at that, just so you know. Even though I haven't talked to anyone about it, I've been working behind the scenes a little bit. And I would like to get the commission's response to having like a standing committee. And that's a standing committee is something that's there for until we terminate it. It's not an ad hoc committee or nothing, but it's something that's always there for the resources as we move forward with the Veteran Service Organization and its members. So I throw that my comments to the rest of the board to see where they stand in that.
I would, any other commissioners before, Mr. Peterson?
I guess I would ask Dave if that's something that he wants us to do, and if that's something that would be valuable to him, I would be in favor of that.
Do you need a committee? I mean, or do you need just to be given the resources and let them do your job? I mean,
Well-
what can we do to help you?
Right, I think it's a hard question to answer because there's both value in either direction. I know what we need, I know what the county needs, I know where we're at and compared to other counties. Can we do something with a committee? We absolutely can. Sometimes people know what happens when you have a committee. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It just depends on how the committee's formed, who's on it, and what's the objective of the committee. So if we can get the right people in play, and we can get people that are gonna come in and do the right thing, then I'm for it. But doing it in a way that, yes, it's going to be something that's gonna go across, expand it through all service organizations, including the Delta County Veterans Council as well, who have a lot of people that are heavily involved in the veteran community here too, to all have that opportunity to get together, have that conversation, and talk about where should we go, what's the next step.
What I see you really needing is another VSO,
That is true.
because you have 3,500 customers or clients, if you will, or more. And, your caseload's got to be enormous. And so that would be, my main concern is that I think we're lucky to have Dave in this county because he's done so much for the veterans. Immediately with the Public Act 214, even if we want to go with a 20th of a mil, which is half of what we could levy max, I don't view it as a tax increase. If somebody does view it $5 for our veterans as a tax increase, I can see fundamentally we're never going to come to be on the same page with that one, but I want to find out if this board has questions about PA 214 and what can be done with that money for indigent sailors and soldiers. Any questions that you have for him? That's why he's here today, so we can get some clear direction as to how to proceed the best to help him.
Can I make a comment on that?
Please.
So something that's important to know is that Public Act 214, if we don't convert from Public Act 214 to Public Act 192, any funds that we take from 214 are only allowed towards emergency relief funds, nothing more.
Understood.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody knows that, so we can't use any of the money towards burial costs or marker installations or employment or other resources. It has
It's
to
going
go
to be helping
solely
somebody with
towards
their
emergency
electric
relief
bill
only.
or rent?
That's it, yeah. Emergency relief for indigent veterans, yeah.
Does that include food purchasing if you need to?
It can if we wanted to start a program with that.
Commission? Commissioner View had brought forth possibly a committee.
Standing committee, and it doesn't have to be a big committee, but it's a standing committee to keep the board informed in the direction we're moving and the positiveness of what the Veteran Service Organization does. It's not to hinder them. You said there's 3,500 veterans that we're servicing? We
That's
should-
what he's told me.
Okay, well, I mean, that information should be in our books, where as commissioners, we can look up the Veteran Service Organization and see the need there. I'm not denying any of this stuff, but I need to be able to follow suit on best practices that other counties are using and having a report from the Veteran Service Organizations on all the stuff that I mentioned here, so that we are moving forward and expanding the proper way for the tax dollars being spent wisely on our vets. That's all I'm saying.
I think we have two different directions we can go here in regard to, we could take immediate action on Public Act 214 to help out with the indigent soldiers and sailors, understanding that that money would go specifically for emergency relief. I think we are also collared with the task of getting him some help in terms of another VSO, and he's grant funded with his salary, but I don't know if we're going to get that lucky for another one, so we may have to start looking at how to fund that.
Well, the biggest thing too that I learned, it should not be grant funded. We can take the grant money and utilize it like we are now, but you cannot rely on that grant money as the sole source for funding this program, or the main source for his wages or the operating expense in that, because at any given, I think it's 50,000 or something right now, if I'm not
The
mistaken.
base amount, yes.
Yeah, okay, but that could be cut out at any given day. If we have an economic turndown or something happens, or,
If you had your druthers, what would you like to see done tonight?
It's a good question.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I don't believe we can vote on this tonight for our laws. We gotta wait until, we would have to put it on the agenda for
Of
next.
course, of course.
Okay.
No, I wasn't saying that we vote on PA 214 tonight, but I mean, I repeat my question. If you had, a crystal ball and you could get a wish, what would it be tonight?
Tonight, if we could make it all happen tonight, which we know that we can't.
Sure.
Would be to solidify on a dollar amount that we would like to use as emergency relief funds, number one. And then number two, to allow for myself and Ashley to move forward either with this manning staffing committee, finance committees, to start to explore what our options are as far as adding another person, how much it's gonna cost, and can we afford it?
Would you be looking for a part-time or a full-time?
It's whatever we can start, whatever we can work out. If it's 2 full-time, 2 part-time, 1 full-time, 1 part-time.
Even if it was
together,
simply a part-time, it would be better than what they're getting now.
100%. I agree.
So do we authorize Ashley and Mr. Xavier to work together to look into that?
looking at what?
Getting what the costs of a part-time or full-time, or to help him? That's what I'm understanding he just asked for.
Can't make a motion.
No, we can't move it, but I mean, we're not making a vote on it, I'm not saying that. That would, and it's not, hasn't been put on the agenda for 6 o'clock, but
Well,
we can give direction.
I don't have any issue with that. I'd like one commissioner to be in on it, that's all. If we can't have a standing committee with 2 commissioners and them 2, then I would at least like to have one representation off the council that can understand from day one what's going on and what's moving forward. And if nobody wants it, I would volunteer in that, but I don't have to. I do have a lot going on. I'm just saying that I would surely volunteer to be part of that. And Dave knows, I've talked to him before, I'm not gonna be easy, but I'm gonna be fair, and I'm gonna be taking care of the veterans. You know that.
Absolutely. And a lot of those answers to those questions that you're looking for would come from a committee.
Right,
The
I know that,
questions, the
because I
answers
can't get
you're
them.
looking for, I can't give them to you right now just because of the fact that I'm already doing what I have to do, to stay afloat.
You're overworked now,
Absolutely.
and I'm overworked on some other things too, and I think this is pretty important. That's why I've kept my calls and movement a little bit towards it, as you can see. I didn't know you were gonna speak tonight, but I've always kept this on the side, thinking someday you're gonna come in here and say something, and I wanted to make sure I could relay what I have been finding out. And I do have people from downstate that would be great resources for us to tap their program for our county. Because even the veterans I've talked to, those that need help really want to help. Those that they don't still want to pay extra taxes. I'm gonna tell you that right now, right out front. They will pay it, but they're looking at that as a last resource. And that's what I'm trying to project here too.
And those folks that you're talking about downstate, if you do want to have a meeting, I can show you email trails of all past for the last 8 years of us talking about expanding from where we're at now through Public Act 192, which was something that was quite honestly told to me when I was hired back in 2015 that was going to happen within 3 years.
Yeah,
And-
well, I explained the whole program that, as far as I knew and was told from when it was at the airport for 20-some years, from when you took over 7, 8 years ago and everything, and they said it's very doable to be able to service your vets if you get all this information, because this is the key data where the people will support your vets by showing them how you're gonna service them. And just, I believe your figures and your numbers and the people we're servicing, but we need to have written documents that we can say, here's what we're doing, is basically what I've been told to get the credibility that the program is going to survive.
So we don't need to take a vote to have Ashley and Mr. Xavier look into the costs associated with another VSO.
Can we throw a commissioner on there?
I have no problem with that. I mean, that's.
Well, I'm just-
You're volunteering your services. Go ahead.
Well, if someone else wants to, I have no issue with it, but if nobody will, I'll step forward.
Nobody's stepping up, so go ahead.
Bob? John?
I just,
Okay, I mean, I just feel we need one commissioner at least.
Any other questions for Mr. Xavier? Sir, again, I always say this when you come, thank you for your services, and we are lucky to have you.
Thank you for support, appreciate it. Thanks.
And then also,
Is there any other business or ideas to come before the informational workshop? Anybody have anything?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Our identification in front of us, I feel left out. I don't know if Bob Peterson does, but it's been like 7, 8 months, and,
I think it's been addressed. I can't say, I can't
well,
promise.
no, that's what I'm asking for an update on it.
I think it's been ordered, hasn't it?
Where do we order them from? Because that seems to be out an awful long time.
It's always been that way.
So.
I'm not
I did-
complaining.
Yes, you
That's
are.
okay.
It's all right.
So I did contact Combostic Creations is where we had these ones created. Looking where our order was, we had not made the order so
What do you mean we haven't made the order?
there was no order ever made. Back in, when I requested it back in March, April. So I asked them if they could remake 2 more or make 2 more along there, and they do not do that anymore. So I am contacting Lake State Industries to get it made. I just took pictures a couple of weeks ago about this, so.
Okay, I just thought a match
That's-
would be good. It's kind of,
Ashley, I think, oh boy, I can't think of his, Dave Revard's son-in-law used to be a supervisor for Wells Township.
Matt Jensen.
Yes.
Matt Jensen, okay.
I know when I came on, it took forever to get mine too, and he said I could make them that fast. So you may see if you can get a hold of him.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, very good. Anything else, Steve?
yeah, just give me a second, see if anyone else has anything.
Anybody else, other than Mr. View, with the informational workshop?
I can't find it right now, so I'm always seems to be a little disorganized because I have so much going on, but I'll, if it comes up, I'll mention it under commissioner comments.
Thank you, sir, very much. That would conclude our Commissioners' Informational Workshop. And we are attending now to the approval of the previous minutes of the county board session of 5/16/23 and Committee of the Whole at 5/23/23. I would need approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron. Support. Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. All those in favor of accepting these minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That would pass. The approval for tonight's agenda, Commissioners.
If there are no amendments, I will, there is.
Tracy, I would like, there was a clarification on the purchase of the MERS service agreement, or service purchase with Jay Valier. When we made the motion, we did not include the exact dollar amount and the amount of months.
So we need item number 15
Yes,
to be clarification regarding Jay Valier.
correct. MERS service credit.
Okay, so let the amended agenda reflect the fact that item number 15, under new business, would be the MERS amended service credit. All right, so we have, I would need a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
I will make that motion.
Moved by Commissioner Melner.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron. Is there additional discussion?
The only question I have, is that in our packet? That information that we?
On number 15?
Yes.
It was already approved, nothing's changed. We're just adding the dollar amount and the amounts.
But that
So-
wasn't in the last packet that we approved?
The last packet.
Well, the last-
For this.
For this
meeting, no.
issue?
No.
That,
This is
them
just-
amounts weren't in there, so we don't,
Yes, the amounts were in there when you approved them. We just didn't, so in the minutes, it just says commissioners approved as presented. We have to specify the exact dollar amounts in the,
And we're gonna
in the
do that
minutes.
tonight.
And we're just gonna do that tonight, but everything was presented as right. They just.
okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Additional discussion. Those inclined to accept the agenda as amended indicate by saying aye, please. Aye. Opposed? We do have an agenda. Thank you very much. Presentation of written communications, communications received, communications forwarded, anything?
Yes, there was 11 items received and 3 forwarded. Would you like me to list them, or?
Does the commissioner, anybody want to hear the list of them, or are you satisfied with that?
Will you have a copy of it?
You have a
Okay,
copy
that's
of
very
it.
good then. I would need a
And it
motion.
was given out a part of the board packets.
What's your pleasure, Commission?
I make the motion to accept the.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion, please. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We will place those on files. Reports of standing statutory special committees and others.
Yes, we have the Human Services Board minutes of March 23rd of 2023, Airport Advisory Board minutes of April 10th, 2023, Public Health minutes of April 11th, 2023, and then also the Township Association minutes of April 27th of 2023.
Is there a report from the Finance Committee as well?
That's different.
Oh, different? All right, very good. I would need a motion, gentlemen.
I'll make the motion that we,
Moved by Commissioner Peterson.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron to file these, accept these minutes. Additional discussion, please? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. Okay, we have people signed up to address the board on agenda items. Please tell us your name, where you're from, and what agenda item you are addressing. And then we have Dennis Hopkins, please. Mr. Hopkins, good evening.
Good evening. I'm addressing agenda item number 12.
Thank you, sir.
Andrea McMillan. Good afternoon. My name's Dennis Hopkins from Schaefer. How unfortunate to learn that the commissioners of Delta County have lost another fine department head. First, it was Emily DeSalvo, who had the audacity to publicly question the integrity of this board and was fired on the spot. Now, it's Andrea McMillan, the airport manager, who for the past 3 years has done an outstanding job leading that airport team. And what was her crime? She had the gall to do her job, give a tour of the airport facility, a public place, to an opposition candidate of one of the commissioners before last year's election. And that immediately marked her as the enemy, making her subject to harassment, digging for personal dirt, and reproach. Her work environment was made so toxic that resignation was her only way to keep her sanity. How many more employees of this county do you have in your sights? Competent airport managers are a scarce commodity around here. Andrea did a fine job for 3 years. Now she's gone. Her predecessor was an arrogant and incompetent disaster and barely lasted a year. His predecessor was superb, but he was so handcuffed from doing his job by the then county administrator, he too resigned after 6 months. At yesterday's Airport Advisory Board meeting, an astute comment was made by one of the board members, and I quote, "To the outsider looking in, our situation looks really bad," unquote. Yes, commissioners, your actions do look really bad. I spent nearly 30 years as a Navy officer, and I can discern mediocrity when I see it. The citizens of Delta County deserve better. Lord help us if this is the path you are leading the citizenry of this county down for your new direction. Thank you.
And next, we have George Putman. Please give us your name and what item you're going to address.
George Putman, I just, food for thought, I guess. When all the guns have been banned, when all the, when all the words have been censored, when all the history has been erased, when all the freedom has been taken, only then you will discover why our right to bear arms was so high on the list. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Maureen Putman, please.
My name is Maureen Putfin, and I'd like to address the gun issue. We the people did not win our freedoms with words. We won our freedom with firearms and courage. If we lose our freedoms, we will lose them because of citizens who are either afraid or without understanding of the story. If we lose our Second Amendment, our country is lost forever.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Mike Glass from NAMA, and I'd like to speak to item number 8. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12 of the United States Constitution states that the Congress shall have power to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money that use shall be no longer, for a term no longer than 2 years. That's all the longer an army is supposed to last. The Second Amendment recognizes that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed or limited by time. Those are my words. Neither the Army nor militia is sanctioned to perform law enforcement functions for the safety of the population within the United States. However, if civilians are not able to protect themselves, then lawlessness will prevail. The phrase "an armed society" is a polite society is attributed to writer Robert Heinlein. He also said there is no such thing as a free lunch. Both statements are true. 10 U.S. Code subsection 246, the militia. Composition and classes. This is about the Class II militia. The unorganized militia, which consists of the members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or the Naval Militia. Militias function more in the fashion of emergency responders when there is a breakdown in society and government entities are not available to lend aid. Further, the existence of militia is protected by Public Law 57-33, the Militia Act of 1903, passed by the 57th Congress of the United States. Now let's recall a few other things about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment has absolutely nothing to do with hunting. The term does not exist in there. So using that for some reason to attenuate our rights or whatever is, well, good try. There will doubtless be numerous statistics offered this evening regarding crimes and accidents using firearms. This is a demonstration that increases the number of restrictions, regulations, and related inopportunities actually increases crime. You can go ahead and do the numbers, but that's a fact. The more you regulate, the more crime you get. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because Mark Twain famously and cogently said that there are lies, damned lies, and statistics. So make sure you think before you believe anything. The most intelligent approach to reducing the number of gun crimes, and especially accidents, is education, targeted to children at specific levels of learning. Attempts to include firearm safety instructions into the schools has been met with vehement opposition from school boards and unions. In contrast, New Jersey schools are now contemplating instruction in the risk of gambling, beginning with...
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Glass. I got to cut you off at 3 minutes, sir.
You know, usually I talk so fast.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Bonnie Hackala, please. Bonnie Hackala. Good evening.
Hello, Bonnie Huckala. I would like to commend you, each of you commissioners, for reaffirming the Second Amendment and for ensuring that we have a constitutional republic form of government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ben Weber. Evening and welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 8, I want to thank our veterans for our support, for defending our Constitution of the United States of America. I had read your resolution, and I would like to add to it and give you a copy of it that you can do as you please in your final draft if you do propose a sanctuary county here. The people of Delta County, State of Michigan, find and declare, acting to the United States Constitution, the people create government by their agent in exercise of a definitive power while reserving to the citizens the right to decide on matters which concern their lives, liberty, and property in ordinary course of affairs. The Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms is further protected by infringement by state and local governments under the 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States of America and District of Columbia versus Heller recognized individuals' right to keep and bear arms is protected by the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Justice Antonin Scalia prevailing opinion in the case stated that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm unconnected with the service in the militia, the right of the use of the firearm for traditional lawful purposes such as self-defense within their home. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Listen to this. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States of America, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without due process of law, or deny any person within the jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. The Supreme Court of the United States recognized in McDonald versus the City of Chicago that the Second Amendment to the Constitution was incorporated by the 14th Amendment and thereby made applicable to the states. Justice Thomas M. Cooley in The People versus Hobart, 24, Michigan, 44, page 108, 1871, states, the state may mold local institutions according to its views of policy or expectancy, but local government is a matter of absolute right. You have absolute right here, and the states cannot take that away. The right to be free from the commandeering hand of the government has been recognized by the United States Supreme Court in Prince versus United States. The court.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir, very much, Mr. Weber. Thank you. Kim Knopf-Wyckoff, please. Good evening and welcome.
Kim Knopf-Wyckoff, and I am just addressing the agenda as a whole. I called timely and was put on the agenda. I was assured by Ashley. I was taken off of the agenda.
Ma'am, you can't address the agenda as a whole. I can tell you why you weren't put on the agenda, but it was not to keep you off the agenda. We haven't received the application yet. That was a
I just
decision I
want
made.
the record to reflect the violation of my rights. Thank you.
What she's talking about, we have not received the application for annexation. I had a conversation with Ms. Wyckoff sincerely on the phone. I meant everything I told you. We have no application for annexation yet. So I can only go on if we get the application. Is there anybody else to come before the board, please, regarding comment on agenda items? Very good. We will,
Dave?
oh,
Commissioner?
go ahead, sir. Your name, please, and what item are you addressing, sir?
My name is Tony Seymour. I'm going to address item number 8. It's already been addressed. I'm a veteran, by the way.
Welcome.
Item number 8 has been addressed over a decade ago. I was a part of it when it was. I thought that it was important then. I thought that maybe people were coming for our guns. It was a big issue, and that people somewhere were coming after us and our protections. Nothing's happened in 10 years. Everything's the same as it was then. A Second Amendment sanctuary isn't going to mean anything when big feds come down for your guns and the National Guard comes in to change. This isn't going to make any difference. There's a lot of people here that are trying to make a difference on things that are actually happening and big problems in this area. This is a big waste of time. The Second Amendment, this number 8 stuff, I am a proud gun owner. I think that everybody deserves the right to protection and it should not be infringed. But this is a huge waste of time and it's a distraction. There's a lot more important things at hand than this. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Mr. Adamini.
Yeah, good evening. I'd like to follow up, with a veteran who was just here addressing number 8.
Thank you.
Dave Adamini from Wells Township. I'm also a veteran and retired Deputy Chief of Police with the Veterans Affairs Police Service. And he's absolutely right. There was another resolution this board passed a while back during COVID, which was nothing but politics injected. And if you read that, you read the last paragraph, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I have a question. Does this board, does the county have an insurance rider that I'm not aware of that was in place during COVID when we had that other resolution where we were going to keep businesses open in violation of the health department and what the state acted? Because what would have happened if someone had an outbreak at their business when we did that? There was talk about what happened if they put armed guards at the doors, which is one thing they talked about. And I believe when that was asked, the question responded was, well, we didn't think of that. Yes, I see this as nothing more than smoke and mirrors to distract everybody from the actual issues that are going on in the community. And this is all it is. Your rights are safe under the Second Amendment. No one's going to come and take your guns. I don't understand that. This goes on and on and on in every election. It's the same thing. I'm a proud gun owner. I'm a veteran. I believe in that stuff, good education. Whoever the gentleman was who talked about that, he was right. Good education goes a long way. But this resolution isn't going to do anything to help this community. And right now we have other needs, we have veteran needs, we have other stuff going on. This is nothing but a distraction to shore up the base ahead of this. Recall is probably coming. And I'm telling you what, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but it's not going to work. The people in this community are not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. They know what's going on, and we're going to come up every day. I'd rather be doing other stuff at home, but I am not going anywhere. I'm going to be down here every time there's a meeting to ensure that we're not getting railroaded or run over. And I think the people in this community see exactly what's going on here. Good day.
Very good, please. Let's come to order. I'll have order in this room, please. Sir?
My name is Randy Scott, Ford River Township. I too am addressing item number 8 on the agenda. Yesterday was the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Bobby Kennedy. And because I started getting interested recently due to the book that he put together on the real Dr. Anthony Fauci, I'm talking about Bobby Kennedy Jr., I decided to listen last evening to the discussion between Elon Musk and Bobby Kennedy Jr. I was never a big Bobby Kennedy fan, but after reading the book, I started thinking, maybe he's starting to get in alignment with my thoughts. I tried to jot down what he said, and it's very brief, so don't blame me if I got the transcript incorrect. I can't write very well anyway. He was talking, of course, about June 5th, 1968, when his father got shot at the Ambassador Hotel after the Democratic primary in LA. And he made comment on a number of different issues, but he said this about the issue of the Constitution and guns. Kennedy stressed he knows firsthand, I'm paraphrasing or putting down what I transcripted last night. He knows firsthand the impact of gun violence, but noted that the Supreme Court has made clear the meaning of the Second Amendment, which he would not infringe on. He's talking about, of course, he's a candidate, and he's putting forward his policy ideas at the same time. He said, extra, he wants to acknowledge that gun culture is deeply integrated in rural communities around the nation, and that taking away Americans' guns is not the right thing. Kennedy noted that further infringements on the Second Amendment would be rightly recognized as part of a systematic assault on our Bill of Rights at a time when the Constitution has been under attack. And I think the reason, and I compliment the board for pushing this and putting it forward, reason being the red flag laws in the state of Michigan, I believe, have changed everything. And it's going to come down to an issue of law enforcement as time goes forward. And I think it is a good idea for the board to put its position on those issues down so that everybody understands what the opinions are in Delta County. I apologize for taking so much time, and I'm through, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anybody wishing to address the board, please, for comments on agenda items? Going once? Going twice? Last call. This is closed. All right, very good. We have committee reports. Administrators report.
So I want to give an update on the American Rescue Plan Act monies. Delta County received $6,950,623. Of that, we have currently spent $1,835,529.39, leaving $5 million in some odd change left, not expense. However, this does not mean the funds are unrestricted. The remaining balance has been obligated for payroll and non-payroll reimbursement, including $4 million. Also, parks, there has been money set aside for parks of $122,620. The IT department projects of $78,872.71. Maintenance projects of $772.90. That's including our roof. Road patrol vehicles of $75,926, and the the airboat of $214,902. I have asked a group of individuals to assist in the hiring of the parks manager position. The members are Commissioner Melner, Commissioner Peterson, Corey Schroeder, Rory Mattson, and myself. So far, we have conducted 2 interviews, and we'll be having 3 more this week. I believe by the beginning of next week, we'll be able to choose a parks manager for Delta County. And an update on the Delta County Airport plan, we also have Brian Hero, who's here, who will be talking on this. First and foremost, I would like to thank Andrea for her time here at Delta County. It is greatly appreciated. I spent time with her mostly during the audit season through the financial single audits and the PFC audits, and she was always willing to help me and able to find the answers to questions that I would have. I would like to congratulate her and wish her the best of luck on her new endeavor. I have been in contact with Andrea, the Airport Advisory Board, TSA, MDOT, FAA, and Prina Newhoff. The Airport Advisory Board met yesterday, and we were advised by MDOT that Delta County has 90 days to find a licensed airport manager. We currently have hired an assistant airport manager, Robin Morrison, as of June 1st. who will also help with the day-to-day operations of the airport. The Airport Advisory Board has made a recommendation to post and fill the airport manager position that will be discussed later in the meeting. Until then, as the administrator, it is my duty to fill the gap as a department head until someone is hired to fill the position permanently. I receive no extra compensation for this as it is a part of my job description. I will not need approval from the board to take on these additional duties. I just ask everyone to have patience with Delta County Airport as we move forward. I went to the Delta County Township Association. I recently attended this meeting, and Sheriff Oswald was there to give a presentation for the Sheriff's Department on road patrol and corrections. And I would like to thank him for keeping our townships informed about what is happening in law enforcement, from a law enforcement perspective, and answering their questions. Also, as if you went by the courthouse, we are, the courthouse roofing project is underway, and that's all I have.
A motion to accept would be in order.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron. Support. Supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That would pass. Finance Committee minutes of 6/2/23.
I would move that they would be put on file.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron.
I would support that.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion regarding the Finance Committee. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. Personnel Committee of 6/5/23. Mr. Melner, you have any?
We just went over the contract. I asked for a couple of things to be, one thing to be put into the job description under, let's see here. Back when we hired Ryan Bergman, there was a something in the contract about compensation. She gets compensation if she is let go. She gets compensation if she relieves her own self. But if there's a, oh boy, I can't think of the word.
Severance package?
Severance package.
Yeah, so in the contract right now, it stated that after 1 year, it doesn't, if the employee or the administrator is terminated, that person would receive 6 months of severance and 3 months of health insurance. But what there is not is if there was any wrongdoing, ill intent, there's, and the commission relieves the person of their duties, they would actually still get a severance pay. So we have it being brought forward to our prosecuting attorney for the language to be adjusted in there, and then to do a full review of the contract, because Commissioner View had mentioned that just contradicting statements of having an exempt employee and some of the working hours. So that was the update of that.
So that is getting, prosecutors got that.
Yeah, I sent it to her that
Okay.
day.
I would need a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Peterson. Supported by Commissioner View. Additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, department head updates. Any department heads here wish to address? Pardon me?
It's no longer.
You would have to wait till general public comment. Sorry. All right, now additional information, unfinished business connected medical proposal.
This one would,
Oh, mechanical, I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, you missed,
No, we did finance.
Yeah, they did finance.
oh,
No problem.
okay.
No, we did finance. All right,
still haven't heard any information on from Train.
I'm sorry.
So we're
boy, did I
tabling
butcher
that.
Train, I apologize. All right.
I didn't even hear what you said, sorry.
Nothing there?
No.
So item number 2 would be a contract for the county, well, that's going to be taken, that's on hold too. So no other old business. We'll look at new business and the payment of our bills.
Can we talk about the contract for the county administrator through the,
It's being reviewed right now by legal counsel, so I would
but
suggest.
I would like to address a few things in that. First off, did everyone read the contract? Did all the commissioners read it?
I'm familiar with the contract, yeah.
I didn't ask that, I asked.
I just answered your question, yes.
Okay, you're familiar with it?
Well, what are you, I mean, I just answered you, you just said, what am I, please bring your point up.
Give me a second. Okay, the employment agreement that we talked about yesterday, I had a lot of concerns about it. And I just got to be diligent and explain what my concerns are, and how the chips fall when it's voted in is fine. But I just want people to understand where I stand in this. My understanding is this contract has been a long-term contract for every administrator for the last 3-4 administrators. Nothing's has ever been changed. Best practice that I've checked into now is that we need, employment agreements need to be written based on each individual hiree as our administrator, based on experience, education, accomplishments, and et cetera. I mean, all kinds of things. And I go through this contract, and it's like top notch. And I'm not denying anyone to have that, but they have to earn that position at this level. Being respectful to both the board's obligation and to the position and the public. This is not standard for an entry-level person to, as the longevity of this contract includes stuff that even top-notch other administrators throughout the state does not receive without earning this stuff. It also has, it's not fitting for everyone that we hire, and for some reason, this county board has never looked at the details of this contract as if per se to, like what Ryan Bergman, which I haven't really known about, but has heard a lot of good things about him, to Nora View, to Phil Strom, all with lesser qualities, not lesser as abilities, but lesser qualities in doing the same thing for the county, and everyone's getting the same thing. Also in this contract, there's automatic raises. What are the raises, Chair? Do you know what the 2 raises are?
They were related to a period of time, but.
No, I want you to answer that, because you told me you read it, and I'll.
I said I was familiar with it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not trying to.
$1,000 increment after the first period of time, and another increment of a similar amount after the second period of time. But I'm more worried or concerned
Well, no.
about what your concerns are.
No, my concerns are that, that's my concern, because most raises as administrative, the top position in a county is done by, based on performance evaluations. They also get the cost of living COLA non-union raise at the end of the year like everybody else. But we also should be based, the increase not built in automatically, but don't we do an evaluation that helps do a performance on more money? I'm just giving you my thoughts. I'm not asking to answer that. There were a lot of issues about the Fair Labor Standard Act of 1938. This has nothing to do with who our administrator is now. It's who we're going to hire as administrator for the next 50 years. And I think all these things need to be addressed, because it talks about a hour workday, 5 days a week. It also gives the top benefits, no matter who has it, like 5 weeks of vacation the first year. I mean, am I wrong or not? You read it, so you know. I mean, there's all these little things in there that I think are well deserving of our administrator, but I think they need to be levied in there on a tier system according to ability, learn skills, more experience, additional education. And if we've been doing this for 5 years, it's not our fault today. It's just my fault if I let it go on without at least letting the public know that there's stuff in here that I don't think has been looked at in many, many years.
Or questioned, more like, is what's going on. The
Well,
contract has always been kind of used as a general form.
Well, I think we need to rate one specifically. I mean, we only hire one person, and we need to evaluate that one person, and that written contract is based on that individual's experience, education, accomplishments.
Have you submit, or do you have a list of suggestions that you would like to see looked at?
That's where the attorney's coming in. I'm just, I don't know if what I say is going to ever make it to fruition where we're going to really look at it and study it and make sure it happens that way, but I want to get it off my chest. As far as our legal department looking at it, I know that we need a municipal law firm to look at it. Specifically, that does counties, cities, townships, governing bodies to comply with the local, state, federal, and the Fair Labor Standard Act. And I think the full board, this is not a issue that goes to two commissioners at a finance committee or two commissioners at a building, what's it? Personnel committee, thank you. Thank you, Ashley, you've been great during this whole thing, or whoever, thank you. I'm not going after anyone, I just think that the public needs, we need fairness for both our appointee that we put there, because I think she's gonna do great things for the county, but I think they need to be corresponded to something that wasn't written. How many years ago has this, Dave, you've been here for 10, 12 years? Is every administrator you hired, is this the same contract? We just fill in a different name and boom,
No,
there
I
it
think it's
is.
a little bit more involved than that. It's, the structure was similar. It has been tweaked a few times, but I can't give you specific chapter and verse like you're going to ask for of what the tweak was.
No, and I apologize if I
It's
put you
fine.
on the spot, but you came out of it with flying colors because you answered the question, just to let the public know. It was $5,000 a year for 2 years. That's fine, except I don't think it's customary that they ask for that in a 3-year contract without having a performance evaluation and everything else that's supposed to be happening.
We do evaluate our administrator. Obviously, it isn't tied to the contract.
Well,
We
it
do, but-
usually is. It usually is for the raise, because they get a raise all the time anyways. You get the non-union COLA raise or whatever it is anyways.
So, in past practice throughout Delta County on non-union department heads and even when, Ms. DeSalvo was first hired, Mrs. Bougie was first hired, they always just do like the 2-step increase. I had one when I started as a
Yeah,
controller, and there was no tie to, an evaluation. It just, for 3 years, I received a guarantee.
I want the
step.
best for you. I want the
Nope,
best
that's fine.
contract.
I was
I
just
want
explaining
something that's fair. I can see where this is going. I mean, I projected this out, this would be close to $1 million in 5 years. I mean, if you add everything up to, 17% of your wages for retirement paid by the county. I mean, I don't want to go into the details, and I didn't get all the other information on non-union benefits. And I'm not saying you're not able to accept them, but I think it should be on a tier system according to, you don't just take an entry-level position and give them the top executive
Do you have a
position.
list of priorities that you would like Lauren to look at?
I don't want Lauren, I want, what about our attorney?
Well, we can,
Is he a municipal
he is a
attorney?
municipal attorney with experience in the
I have
federal
a
bar.
Statement. So
Go ahead.
Beth Wickwire from our prosecuting attorney, I know Mrs. Wickman had talked about it when she came in earlier. She does have the municipality background.
Okay, I didn't know that. I wanted to make sure we had somebody
But
that,
I mean, or Mr. Graham, it doesn't matter.
Mr. who?
Graham, or him, I mean, but.
I would like the least expensive, if we're already paying for one, I would go with her, and I would like either the full board do it in a closed session, or the personnel, the two members on the personnel committee to meet with her with some of the things that I brought up today, because that's just,
It would be customary to have personnel look at it first and then.
but I
pass it
think
on
the
to
full board needs to be involved in it way before we put a proposal out there and listen to our attorney. But we can do the groundwork to begin with, is what I'm saying. I mean, John, what do you think? You were there when I
Yeah.
brought all that stuff up, and I shocked you a little bit. And it was kind of like, well, we've always done this. But I don't think anyone's really looked at it to the extent of what it entails. And that's something we can grow into, whoever we hire as administrator, where they can grow into these figures sometimes. And maybe we'll end up giving them to her in the end anyways, because geographically, maybe that's what we have to pay for this position now. I don't know.
We are currently paying the prosecutor's office $6,000 a year to handle opinions of certain, this would be one of the things, if you want to do, that's already there.
Well, I would,
Yeah.
I would move that we let the personnel committee meet with the, what was the name of that prosecutor that's municipal?
Beth Wickwire,
You can just simply say the prosecutor's office.
or prosecutor's office.
Okay,
But they work together on them.
Well, that's fine.
When they-
I just want to be comfortable that they're understanding what we're trying to do here. And if so needed, we would like our administrator in on that too, Ashley. So it'd be us three.
So you guys have a meeting of the personnel committee starting things off.
Well, I don't want to.
I think as soon as the prosecutor gets done looking at it, then me and Steve will have a personnel committee again, and
Get our questions
Ashley
That was my understanding. What probably would happen is once.
look it
she's gonna-
over again and see what changes she came up with.
She's going to pass it back to you guys. You're going to look at it and pass it on to the full board, or I'll send it back to her.
Well, my main concern is all my I know people don't like research, but that's how I get my data and get my bearings on what's customary needs to be done. So I have a lot of, I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what this contract says and what it means.
You want to wait then until you
No,
get back?
I'll wait to see what she says about it, but I want to be able to communicate back and forth with her.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just, she comes back and says, this is good, this is good, this is good. I want the exact answers, why it is or why it isn't.
And she can actually be in the personnel committee also.
Okay. I mean, I think
We got
that's fair to
questions.
everybody, plus to the
You want to
citizens.
schedule a meeting of the personnel committee and have her come in, and so you can start at a point?
Ashley, I think, is going to do
Yeah.
that, so that'll be
All right, very
fine.
good. So. just
Okay,
good. All right,
okay,
very good.
I just wanted to get that off my chest because I felt it was important to let everyone know. Thank
All right,
you.
we're looking at the payment of our bills.
I have examined all claims presented and recommend payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the county treasurer to the claimants for the amounts allowed. The total of bills is $3,638,416.33, and commissioners' expenses of $1,333.16.
Commission,
I move we pay our bills.
moved by Commissioner Barron,
Second.
supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion. All those in favor will have a roll call.
Milner.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yep.
And Moyer.
Yes. Those are paid. Item number 2 would be the 2022 taxable value reports.
I have the next two items, so I'm going to kind of combine them together.
Very good.
The 2023 taxable value report that you have gives a breakdown of summary by property class as well as municipality. Those totals are presented to you on this report with a total 2023 taxable value of $1,385,842,961. With the millage report that is the next item on the agenda. The county will be levying 5.0317 mils for the operating, which will generate $6,973,146.02. This is $271,115.59 over last year's revenue.
Any questions? Any questions?
Yes, I do. You know, you list on here your taxable values, that is the actual amount that's taxed. 'Cause we-
Yes.
you know, our property tax slips have the state SEV and everything else, but this is the actual amount that's taxed.
Yes, these are the values that the people, the taxpayers are pay taxes on.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right.
We would need a motion to accept
I will make a motion to accept the
report.
report.
We have a motion by Commissioner Melner.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion? All,
What was that total again? I see something on here, it looks like 1 trillion.
Yeah, 1,385,842,
I think-
385,842,961.
I think it's 1 billion.
1 billion.
1 billion.
I've never seen numbers so big.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes,
that would make our revolving tax fund pretty healthy.
Do we get to spend that?
Okay, so we have, all right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much for your service and your time.
We have to approve the tax rate too.
Okay, we need the 2022 summer tax rate, 2023 summer tax rate, I apologize. I would need a motion to approve.
What was that, five what?
5.0317.
Okay, I'll move to approve that 5.0317.
Okay, moved by Commissioner View. Or supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion, please.
And that's just for the county, that's for our operation?
Correct.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. Now, thank you very much. Okay, building and zoning fees.
Jack Smith is here from Building and Zoning to present.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jack Smith, Building and Zoning Administrator. What we're proposing today is to raise our commercial permit fees. You guys all have the packet there, so it's, all the information's there. One example I'll give you is the Terrace Bay Motel. Our permit fee, plan review included, was $5,784. In comparison, Marquette's plan review and permit fee would have been $17,159. With $11,000 difference, roughly. Our next one, as an example, gotta get to the, here, would be, excuse me, that's the wrong one. The Meyer store in Escanaba. Our total project cost was $11,000. That's our plan review and our fee, our permit fee. Marquette's area would have been $33,130. So what we're proposing is we get in line with Marquette, Houghton, Iron Coney, was it? Iron Coney in the surrounding areas, to create revenue for our county.
So you're basically bringing the fees up to a more modern structure with the
Correct.
surrounding
Correct.
counties.
These fees were lowered at one point, several years ago, when, I guess maybe we had more money than we do now. So prior to this, this is what our fee base was based on. They changed that a while back, and we're just asking to bring it back up to modern.
Specific questions.
So
this is for commercial units only?
Commercial units, yes.
Okay.
Just for an example, the Terrace Bay Motel, I've been there since they started that project 11 times, I think, 10 or 11 times. I was there yesterday again inspecting footings. So as this process goes, I'll probably visit that facility 30 times in the span of their construction here. Every time they make a move, I have to go there and inspect it. So that's quite a bit of time spent there, so.
Gentlemen?
The only comment I dislike, and it has nothing to do with what we're trying to do here, as a business owner, I have always dreaded when we raise the fees to be in line with other counties. I dread at that because I would rather see we need to raise them, kind of like what you said there at the end. You've been there 10 or times and you're probably going to be there 30 times. A reason for raising them outside, just because someone else is doing it.
And that is the purpose, Commissioner.
Yeah,
Peters.
I would like to see that not mentioned when we do stuff like this. Personally, myself, to be able to support something like this, because maybe Marquette County has a different structure where something else is not covering for what they're building inspector. I don't know, I'm not.
We do the same thing.
You
Our
do?
job, my job and his job in Marquette are exactly the same. I'm a business owner myself, so it does affect me if I add on to my business, so.
No, but I'm thinking of new businesses too that
Sure.
want to build, and there's supposed to be some of them coming up down at the Lake Shore too, you know, and
Sure.
I
And
just know this is
Yeah, and
extra cost
I
that.
do know that our, when we lowered the fee, our fees, it did not increase the businesses coming in here or.
Well, why did we lower them, do you know?
I don't, it was done prior to my time here.
I mean, there must have been Mr. Moyle, I mean,
I
Chair,
can't
you were on-
speak for previous administrators. There's so much stuff to come before the county in 13 years
No,
that
yeah.
I don't have a place where I'd begin to answer that.
I mean, do we have to get in line that much where it's
Well,
triple the price?
I
Is-
think a question would be, I mean, the terrace is an extreme case, is it
Sure,
not?
sure. So.
But percentage-wise, it's the same, no matter what.
So for one example, their permit, application, we'll go back to Marquette. Their permit application is a certain fee. As it increases square footage, they increase their permit application fee. We will not do that. Our application fee is $100, whether it's 1,000 square foot or 500,000 square foot. So we're not completely aligning with them, and it's all in it's in your packet there, what our proposal is to do. So it's not verbatim what they're doing, but it is in line with what they're doing.
I'm thinking it was late 2016 or early 2017. The county always used to base their fees on square footage and value of construction. It was lowered, I think, because our time was excessive. We had
Extra?
so much extra money that everything was dropped to keep us in line where the level should have been. But now it's to the point, I mean, when Myers came in 2016, our permit fee was like $34,000. Now, today, that would only be maybe, we went by our fees today. And it's been several years. I'm right here. Oh. So I guess that's basically.
Yeah, well, I just question the one line. I mean, you explained it much better, but I mean, that one line just throws me off every time a government agency tries to do something because my neighbor's doing it, I want to do it too.
And it's
And
not
if-
just Marquette, it's the state construction code bases theirs the same way, Houghton does it the same way. I mean, there's several other counties just in the UP.
Well, I would like to see it we need it for our budget. In order to perform these services for the people in the county, we need to raise our fees accordingly. That's how I'd like to see it done. Personally, it's just my own personal opinion.
Very good. Anything else, other commissioners with questions? I would need a motion to accept.
I would put that motion forward.
That we accept the current suggestion of fee schedule increases.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Peterson, seconded by Commissioner Melner. Additional. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. Thank you for your time, sir. Well, we have another zoning case, number 3-23-PC.
We did bring this in front of the planning commission last night. Donald and Deborah Leisner are requesting that we rezone their property. They're in that zone out towards Hyde. The front half of their property is residential, the back half is commercial. They're asking to rezone it all to residential for the purpose of future house building plans.
All right.
It was passed by the planning commission last night.
I would need a motion to accept this zoning case.
I would move that motion forward.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Peterson.
Fine.
Okay, additional discussion?
Just one thing, I'm on the planning commission, and we are looking at redoing that whole area from Escanaba city limits all the way out to Bark River, where we're gonna take like so many feet from the highway in and make that all the same thing, because it's kind of been a snowball. This is the third one in the last, 3 months that we have done. So we're gonna do like make it on each side of the highway, so many feet. I think we ended up at 1320.
Yep.
Or to the back of your property line, and it's all gonna be rezoned. We're gonna do a little more research on that. There's another spot from Escanaba out to Gladstone. We're gonna do the same thing on 41 and US 2. So we're doing a little bit of more research on it before we actually pull the trigger to do it.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion on the floor. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This passes. Thank you. Okay. Planning Commission and,
They got one more.
One more.
yep, I know. I've got PCBA, Recording Secretary Pay and Mileage.
So we are requesting to increase the pay for the recording secretary to $40 per meeting and mileage. Previously, it was $30 from 10 years ago. It was passed by the planning commission last night.
I will make that motion that we approve that.
Moved by Commissioner Melner. Support. Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion on this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you very much, both of you, for your service. We have the removal and the assignment of the commissioner.
Can we go back, I'm sorry, to the planning commission? That needs to go by roll call.
Okay, we need to do a roll call for the previous item, on item number 6. So, is it 5? All right, go ahead and roll call, clerk.
So that's on the zoning change? Okay. Melner?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
And Moyle?
Yes. Okay, that would pass. Thank you very much. Now we're looking at the removal and the assignment of the commissioner for the Parks and Recreation Board. I think this is just a simple housekeeping.
It's just a housekeeping, so I believe the intention during January 1st was to have Commissioner Peterson be the Parks and Rec Commissioner and Commissioner Barron be the Conservation District Liaison. Currently, Commissioner Barron is both.
We would need
So,
to have remove
I would just
Commissioner
need
Barron
a-
from,
I just want to make sure that
yeah,
it's
we'd have
just
to
documented.
remove Mr. Barron from Parks and Rec and put Mr. Peterson on Parks and Rec. So I would need a motion, preferably by Mr. View and Mr. Melner.
Well, I move to do that switch where, as long as it's okay with Mr. Barron.
That'd be great.
Does he get to choose which one he want? You want to move just to one and not the other, or it doesn't matter? I'm asking,
To be honest, though, I didn't realize I was on the parks. I've been working the conservation.
so that's the one you're staying on?
Yeah,
Okay,
you could
so
be
we-
dropped off of Parks and Rec. So
Okay.
That's what your motion should.
That's what my motion
Okay,
is.
so we have a motion by Commissioner View. Do we have support from anybody? Mr. Melner, will you support it, or do I got to get?
I will support it.
Okay, supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional regarding.
Just read the motion again, so I'm clear with what I made the motion on.
Clerk?
Well, I know what I did, I just want to make sure. Yes.
Moved by Commissioner View and seconded by Commissioner, I'm sorry,
Melner.
Commissioner. Moved by Commissioner View and seconded by Commissioner Melner to change the Parks and Recreation Board from Commissioner Barron to Commissioner Peterson.
So, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's taken care of. Number 8 is the Second Amendment resolution. For me, the impetus of this, first of all, I submitted this. It's a first draft. I don't think that this board would accept a simple first draft. I expect you'll take pens to it at your leisure, but I'm going to read it. The impetus was the ERPO law, or the red flag laws that just were adopted by the state of Michigan. There has not been a big waste of time because there hasn't been really any time spent on this. This was borrowed very heavily from Iron River's resolution. We became originally formally a Second Amendment friendly county in terms of this board in 2013 when the board passed a resolution submitted by the Delta County Gun Owners Association. Formally in 2020, in February of 2020, we adopted a resolution that I pushed and to make it symbolic. This is also largely symbolic, but there is language in here that can be applied. Whereas the issue of constitutional rights, including but not limited to the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, as well as the Constitution of the State of Michigan, has been in the spotlight of public discussion as of recent. Whereas public discussion of such constitutional rights is a hallmark of such discourse in a constitutional republic. Whereas the government of the County of Delta has the authority to not fund regulations or rules which are in conflict with constitutional rights of individuals within the state of Michigan and the United States of America. Law-abiding citizens are guaranteed the right to keep and bear arms by their creator. The County of Delta will not support financially any activity that attempts to reduce or strip a law-abiding citizen of his or her rights to keep and bear arms. The Delta County Commission has previously opined that the selective enforcement of constitutional laws, regulations, or rules is in violation of the Constitution of the laws of both the state of Michigan and the United States of America. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the County of Delta on 2/4 of 2020 adopted a resolution stating that Delta County, Michigan is a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Whereas all elected county commissioners in Delta County, Michigan take an oath of office pledging their support to the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Michigan to faithfully discharge their duties to the best of their abilities. Whereas the lawful ownership and possession of the use of firearms is a part of the cultural heritage within Delta County, Michigan. Whereas it is common for firearms to be family heirlooms that are passed from generation to generation as a permanent connection to the past and to the present within extended families. Whereas the funding for mental health services in the state of Michigan is woefully underfunded, causing a failure to adequately provide services to persons of the state of Michigan who are in need of mental health services. And whereas recent high-profile shootings involving individuals that have mental health issues, the mental health systems nationwide have failed to adequately provide appropriate, timely, and adequate services to such individuals. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the County of Delta in Michigan does support and will continue to support, honor, and pledge to support the Constitution of the United States of America, as well as the Constitution of the State of Michigan, including all amendments thereto. Be it further resolved that the County Board of Commissioners of the County of Delta direct our legislators and elected representatives of the people of the state of Michigan to A, not undertake or support legislation that conflicts with the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America or Article 1.6 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963. That would include not enact red flag laws excluding the present PPO process. Number two would be not require registration requirements for long firearms. Number three is not require mandatory storage schemes for firearms. Number four would be no additional or not additional limitations on the lawful ownership and use of firearms. Five, not adapting schemes or regulations of firearms that infringe upon the foregoing constitutional guarantee of the people of the state of Michigan. Item B would be adhere to their oath of office and not adopt legislation, rules, regulations, and/or requirements that are in conflict with the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America and Article 1.6 of the Michigan Constitution, and any final judicial determination thereto. Adequately fund mental health services available to our communities to provide for timely intervention with appropriate and adequate mental health services as an investment in human capital of persons of the state of Michigan. And ensure that adequate funding is made a priority for mental health services to be provided by methods that do not infringe upon the statutory and constitutional rights of those in need of mental health services. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the County of Delta directs its staff to provide copies of this resolution to A, each township in the County of Delta, B, each city and village in the County of Delta, C, each department head in Delta County, D, each county in the state of Michigan, our county and regional judges, our sheriff, and our state and federal representatives, including senators. Respectfully submitted, David Moyle. This is nothing to me like a smokescreen. If it was, I can't even begin to challenge that kind of mentality. Our red flag laws, regardless of where you're at with the Second Amendment, and there are 5 individuals on this board, and each one go in your own direction. I'm not so egotistical, as I was called today, that I would think that I can influence any of you. You're going to do what you want to do. But I have a major problem with the red flag laws that have just been passed, and I believe it will end up in the United States Supreme Court. Whether you want to agree with me or not, I do believe that our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is under attack a lot of times. Even if it's up to you what you want to do here. You want to scuttle this, we scuttle it. You want to adapt it, chop it up, whatever, add your 2 cents to it, that's fine. This is no threat to the public. It is by and large symbolic, with the exception of, I would like to have it read into our charter, whatever the final resolution is. But I am serious about not funding things that would be considered not constitutional. The red flag laws take due process away, and I wanted to hear what you have to say. This is not a smokescreen to me.
If I may,
Yes, please.
I was just watching a video today from the sheriff from Livingston County, and he was talking specifically about the red flag laws. And in this new red flag law, it's not only your guns that are at risk. If I have access to somebody else's guns, they can take those guns. If I'm, say, a caretaker for my father who's passed away, for instance, if I'm a caretaker for my father and he has guns, and I'm over there a couple times a week, and there's a red flag law pulled against me, they can actually go and take my father's guns. If I'm going over to a friend's house regularly, maybe one of my neighbors, and I'm over there every day, they can actually go in and take his guns. So this doesn't just affect me, myself. And another thing about it is if somebody pushes a red flag law against me from Wayne County, they can actually put a red flag law against me from Wayne County. I have to go to Wayne County to defend myself. They will call up here, ask law enforcement up here to take my guns. Then to get my guns back, I've got to go to Wayne County and fight it.
You also don't have to be notified if there's a judgment placed against you.
Correct. No, they just come knock on your door and say, hey, guess what? We're here. So that violates your due process. I mean, there's so many laws that are being infected on these, so many rights of us that are being affected by these laws.
Could I have order in the room, please? You will all get a chance to speak, I promise you, and I just need order, please.
It's ridiculous. I know that it was said, and it's been said, I've heard it hundreds of times from people, oh, they're not going to come take your gun. Guess what? They're just past that red flag law they can come and take your gun. And there is no due process. There is no your right to trial. They come knock on your door. And other states have passed these red flag laws. And there's been several deaths because of it. Law enforcement going in and no-knock raids in the middle of the night. The homeowner thinks that it's somebody breaking in. They defend themselves with their guns. Either the homeowner or law enforcement gets hurt. And this is happening already. This has been happening for several years already across the nation in different states. And now we've passed these laws here in Michigan, and this can start happening here now. And from what I understand in talking to our sheriff, the people that can do this are family members, parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, spouses, and ex-spouses, and ex-girlfriends or boyfriends. So how many times has a divorce been kind of a little bit tough and people are a little bit upset about it? You know, I think ever. I don't think I've ever seen spouses get mad at each other when they're divorced and want to get back at their spouse. We just gave them the perfect excuse to do that, perfect way to get back at their spouse. So this is more than just show. This is being done by counties all over the state. Counties are reaffirming. Counties that did not do a Second Amendment in the last round 2 years ago are now doing their Second Amendment again, or doing new Second Amendments. This is to let people know, to let our legislators know that we're not going to stand for this and we don't support these laws. It's totally unconstitutional, it's totally against our rights, and I believe this is a very important thing to do, to stand in continuity with other counties across the state to show strength to our legislators that this is not acceptable. Thank you.
Commissioner View.
Protects commissioners too. But I love old guns. I love guns. My kids love my guns more than I love my guns. All I see here is, I support this wholeheartedly. I would like to, my problem with the red flag laws is I become the criminal. It's a slippery slope. I do everything legal. The criminal, or whoever you want to say, can come in, take my guns, even if they're locked up, somehow get my guns, save them for a couple of years, and next thing you know, they're coming on my door saying, look what your gun did. You didn't have it secure good enough. There's no way of knowing how secure enough is. I mean, whatever red flag laws they have like that, I get mad at someone. I might say something against Commissioner Morrow because I was unhappy with him and he could get in trouble. I don't think that's fair to anyone, whether you like him or dislike him or your neighbor or anything. It just opens up that slippery slope that someday we will be a gun-free nation and we'll be at the beholding to the criminals. And I personally do not want to feel that. I mean, I don't carry a gun now anyways, but I own guns. I love them. And I would like to see this passed tonight, but I would like to add one thing.
Yes.
I mean, make a suggestion on one thing in the end, that we, instead of respectably submitted.
Oh, that part doesn't count. It was just me putting my name on there. I don't want my name.
Well, no, but I want the whole board's name on it. You know,
It has to be. Agreed.
that we declare, or we avow this, or we put forward this as a
Yes.
whole unit of people that, I'm not saying everyone's gonna pass it, but those that agree with it and really believe that it's taken away our freedom, that we all sign this. I would like it all be signed by those that support it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And if I may come back again,
Yes, Mr. Christian.
I agree with Commissioner View. Excuse me, sorry about that. I do believe that we should all sign it, and I would really like to see this done and gone tonight.
Very good. Mr. Milner?
Yeah, I'm on board with this too, because I do have a few guns.
It's like saying-
I got
An arsenal.
I got enough. And I would really, really hate to see somebody try to take my guns.
To Mr. Barron, if you read the law, the last portion of the law talks about protected classes. Okay, we are all the same under the United States Constitution, is the way I understand it. But there should not be a protected class in terms of the enforcement of any law. And so that doesn't mean I think ill of somebody if they're a different color, a different creed, but the basis of this law will separate individuals could separate individuals as to what type of enforcement is allowed by color. And they're talking about demographic information and possible consideration, and there's even confusion on when this law is enacted. It's the end of 2023 or the end of 2024. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
All right, I feel like low man in a totem here, but that's fine, that's fine. I'm supportive of it in the sense of that this has been another movement that's taken place as we've just gone through as I call the Fauci flu fiasco for the number of years here where our due process was taken away from across the country. Mask mandates, vaccination mandates, people fired, and that's proven itself to be a complete fiasco. As I've said before, the reactions from vaccines, that aren't vaccines and the CDC doesn't call them vaccines anymore. This is in the same vein as what's taking place there. I'd like to see this passed tonight, but I do have a couple things that I want to, that I addressed here, and I've talked to Commissioner Moyle about this ahead of this. He addresses in here the, under whereas funding for mental health services in the state of Michigan is woefully underfunded, causing a failure of to adequately provide services to persons. I've had a cold here, excuse me, I got to clear my throat. To persons of the state of Michigan who are in need of mental health services, and then it goes on further with the high-profile shootings, depending from the mental health situation. Our mental health in the state is a disaster, and realistically, we should all be armed just to protect ourselves from the job they've done with mental health. The reality is I don't see where that's needed in this. This is about the Constitution and our rights. There's no such thing as something being a waste of time to do this. The Constitution and it's all that it does for us is not a buffet where we pick and choose what we're going to hold up. It's either all or nothing. You can't pick up just one little item and, okay, this is what I'm for, but the rest I'll play with, and that's a waste of time. That's a ridiculous statement. But I believe this resolution needs to be passed, but I think all of it pertaining to the mental health needs to be removed from it because it's not part of what we're standing for here. The mental health, before this board, 2 years ago this summer, the Pathways Director was before us about another resolution to have us pass to be against the privatization of mental health funding in the state of Michigan, that to eliminate the private sector from being involved. The state of Michigan spends somewhere between $3.5 and $4 billion. Now, we just heard a report about our taxable of $1.3 billion and change, but that's approximately 3 times that is spent every year in our state. And I asked the question, and Dave was here, and John Wallner were on the board at the time, but as for those who may not know this, but in the mental health industry, as we know it today, did not start from legislation. It was an executive order from President John Kennedy in 1963, 60 years ago. And I asked the question, in that 60-year period, as the mental health of Michigan, but of the entire country, stayed the same, improved, or gotten worse? It took a long time for the presenter to finally give the answer after being asked a number of times. I simplified it at the end because it was going on and on. I said, okay, is it better or worse? Worse. Understand that. 60 years ago, we didn't have this industry. and the mental health was far better in this country. We're 60 years later, and it's worse. And I don't believe putting any more money into something to get worse. And I've quoted this a number of times, Albert Einstein had a definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and expecting different results. I very much support this, but without the mental health, because that is supporting something that is taking us down, not taking us up.
I basically borrowed very heavily from Iron County's resolution. I do believe that we have a broken mental health system, and I think it does walk hand in hand with gun violence in many cases. I do not believe that everyone should own guns. I believe there are people that should not be allowed access to firearms. Law-abiding citizens, this is a critical thing. Mr. Adamini and Mr. Seymour, your service to this country as servicemen is inspirational. I disagree respectfully with what you're both saying. I'm not, this is no smokescreen. The people of this county aren't that dumb. If they want me gone, I'm gone like a fart in the wind, all right? But I believe that the people of this county need to say, in no uncertain terms, that the weaponization of any law is unacceptable. So what is your pleasure, gentlemen?
Bob, I appreciate the part about mental health, but I think it also shows gun owners know that some people that need help are not receiving the help, and it doesn't say that we support it, but we're telling them that there's an issue with the mental health, and that's where they need to focus their.
It's saying the system's broken.
Yes. And I don't mind that staying in there. I really don't. Personally, myself, I would vote for it either way. I just think it's okay. I mean, I would move that we would support this as written with the change at the end, that all the commissioners sign it. I would make a motion for that. Would you support that, Bob?
Well, see, my difficulty here is that the mental health system that we have in place, because as the resolution says, it's woefully underfunded. How do we know that? I don't think it's a funding issue. I don't think it has been a funding issue from the get-go. By what's taken place, when you start talking after $3.5 to $4 billion annually in this state, and it's worse, and that's not something that I can just say and that, well, it's my opinion, it's a reality. We've been told that as fact. We go back to that, okay, the quote, the so-called American way, and in quotes, is that if we throw enough money at it, that the problem will get solved. But unfortunately, it doesn't. But what tends to happen is that we dump boatloads, trainloads, truckloads of money on things, and then we have to deal with the stench afterward. We're dealing with the stench right now on mental health. I don't think it really should be a part of this. The fact that someone would use guns out of what their necessity of being indicates a mental health issue to begin with. And the problem with the mental, I see as a problem with the mental health system that we have, it's not trying to solve the problem. You see, in the consequence of when a government entity is set up to, quote, solve a problem, mental health, it's self-defeating to solve it. Because if it solves the problem, then that government entity no longer needs to exist. Well, it's just the opposite for the government entity, that instead of solving the problem, we need more money, and that's always what you hear over and over again. We need more financing, and we need more funding, and yet it still doesn't solve it.
Would you accept, whereas mental health services in the state of Michigan is ineffective?
No, I would look at the.
He's talking about items, paragraphs number 10 and 11, in case any commissioner's curious. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know if you just eliminate that paragraph and just go to the next one. You speak about whereas recent high-profile firearm shootings involve many individuals that have mental health issues, the mental health system nationwide have failed to adequately provide appropriate, timely, adequate services to such individuals. Funding's not the issue when you don't have, when your objective is not to solve it.
So leaving number 11 in and scuttling number 10 as a paragraph.
I would support that.
Mr. View?
Yeah, I can change that, it doesn't matter. The only thing I thought about the mental health, it shows that we had a little sympathy that the regular gun owners don't have an issue, but those that have an issue, we need to go after them somehow, some way. And
Number
even-
11, I think, would state that.
Okay.
Number 11 addresses that.
So we're gonna take out the two paragraphs, I would
Well,
change my.
I think paragraph number 10 would be scuttled, number 11 would stay in.
Okay, take off paragraph,
Number 10 would be eliminated, and,
I'll change my motion to take out paragraph number 10.
okay, so Mr. View's motion would eliminate paragraph number 10 and call for the signature of all commissioners on the board.
Well, that would be, but I would have another, no.
No, let's go ahead, sir.
Well, but with the elimination of number 10.
Yes.
You need to move to item D.
Okay, yeah, all right, under our list of directives, each county in the state of Michigan, could you specifically read what you're?
Well, it says ensure that adequate funding is made.
All right,
A priority for mental health services.
All right, so you're saying that's obviously, so as, the elimination of paragraph number 10 would also remove item D, because it is, item D is tied to paragraph number 10.
Yeah, we,
It's a separate resolution.
yeah, we can, since it's tied to it, that paragraph, item D, under,
So does your motion reflect the removal
removal of item D
paragraph
also.
10 and item D?
Paragraph 10 and item D.
So it is moved by Commissioner View to accept this resolution with the exception of paragraph 10 and item D.
I will support that.
And have all the commissioners sign it. It is supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Melner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Very humbling, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for your support on this. Item number 9 is a resolution opposing House Bill 4479 and Senate Bill 299.
I'll talk a little bit about this. Let me get on May 18th and 19th, there was a UP Commissioners meeting convention out at the island. And on Friday, the 19th, which was Friday, there was a speaker from MAC, and they were talking about statewide septic system inspections. Now, apparently, we are the only state in the lower continental, in the lower 48, that does not have septic tank system inspections. Now, I'm not 100% against the bill. It's a lot of the information that is there and how it is presented to us. And Senator McBroom and Representative Preston are totally 100% against what they are requesting. So we are trying to get resolutions throughout the county, or throughout the state, to fight this bill, and eliminate some of the language they have in it. This bill, when they come out to your house, you will be responsible for the inspection. I hear the inspection is up to $3,000. This is what we're fighting. Then they give you a certain time limit on the inspection. What they do is they go out to your drain field, drill a hole. Once they hit water, if it's beyond their specs, they say you have to have a new septic system. Now, with that, they give you a date of when it has to be done. If it isn't done in 3 months or whatever the date is, when they come back, they will fine you $1,000 a month until it gets done. That's why we're fighting this.
And if I may add to that?
Yes, Mr. Pearson.
This inspection is every 5 years, and you have no say in whether it gets done or not. Every 5 years, the inspection will be done, if they can find people to do it. That's going to be one of the issues is, how many people, like 80,000 IRS agents, how many more people are they going to put on at the state and county level to go out and inspect these septic systems? And I'll bet you, I've installed septic systems, I've worked excavating, I've been a general contractor, and I'm a real estate agent, and I will guess that half of the septic systems in the Upper Peninsula would probably fail on the first go-round.
Then you have a problem with getting people to do it.
Yeah.
Well, $3,000 in inspection, I would think not. but-
Well, not even just the inspection, but if they give you 30 days to fix that, how many people can call up a contractor right now to put in a septic system, have them there within 30 days? So this is fraught with a lot of expense to our local public.
Do we
and,
have the wordage for the resolution? Do we have?
Yes, it's.
Okay, we got the verbiage for it then.
The verbiage is there. All we have to do is pass it tonight.
Any other commentary, gentlemen? Mr. Milner?
I have one comment.
What's that?
I was at a MAC conference in Zoom yesterday, and it was one of the topics of discussion. And it's not a done deal yet. The Michigan Associations of Counties are fighting it also, along with us. So our resolutions are going to be very valuable in this thing. They basically said that it's going to be very hard to stop it because of the makeup of our government right now. But they're pushing a couple other issues in that they're going to try. One thing that was talked about that I remember, and I don't have my notes, but it was basically when the house is up for sale is one of the issues they're trying to get, so it's not like every 5 years. It's like when you sell your house and then you have a buyer, seller that inspects it, and then it's up to code or checked out at that time, which probably is done anyways. But that's one of the options. They're trying to throw in on that so that it's not every 5 years. But nothing's guaranteed or concrete that what's going to happen.
I'll tell you right now that 90% of the properties that I sell have a property inspection at the time of sale, or a septic inspection. Very few people, and as a real estate agent, I highly advise people to get their inspections, especially of septic systems. I can tell you that my next door neighbor sold his house just last year. And it was in the middle of winter, a gentleman bought it, and they talked him out of getting the septic inspection. Guess what? First thing this spring, he's putting in a new septic system. So most people, unless they just don't care and they've got a lot of money, most people do get their septic systems inspected, they do get their wells inspected, they do get home inspections. Like I said, I encourage vehemently that anybody that I'm dealing with gets that done. So, like I said, most houses at time of sale do get it done. And I guess if they wanted to put that law in there that at the time of sale, I know in many parts of the state too, not so much up here yet, but many parts of the state, lending institutions will not give you money unless you have the septic system and the well inspected. So, and that's moving across the country and across the state quite rapidly also. I can understand a thing like that, but just every 5 years to come knock on your door and say, you owe me $3,000, we're going to inspect your tank, and then if it fails, we're going to charge you $1,000. After a month, you're going to charge you for $1,000 for every month. You can't, honest to God, you can't get a septic installer to come in that quick. It's like building a house, it's like any other contractors. You just can't get them there that quick.
Well, can I make one more comment?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
As I think back to what we were talking about the other day in that meeting, they also put a proposal in that maybe a 10-year inspection. And they said this is something that probably won't come around for anywhere from 2 to 5 years before it would get through the whole process. I mean, that's just hypothetical at these committees, what they're talking about. So I don't want to get everyone up in an uproar now, but it's probably something you should be concerned with if you have septics. So that's why it was good to bring it up, yes.
It's coming,
It's coming, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I just have a neighbor, they have to put a mound system in. And says, what's it gonna run you, 20, 25? They said maybe more. There ain't many people up here that can afford that kind of money.
And I'll tell you.
So that's why I had Ashley make up the wording on this and why we're gonna work on fighting it.
Mr. Peterson?
No, I decided not to comment.
Okay. Mr. Mellor, thank you for taking the leadership on this and appreciate you bringing it forth. We would need a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Commissioner Peterson,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion, gentlemen. Let's do a roll call.
Milner,
Yes.
you,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. All right, very good. Out-of-county travel, for the out-of-county, so we're looking at,
That's me, and I can explain that.
no, you don't need to explain it. You went to Lansing
I'd
on
like
our
to let
behalf.
people know what I did.
Oh, very good.
Okay. I was not at the committee of the whole meeting on the 23rd. On the 21st, I got a call from Hannahville's legal lawyer or whatever, and he asked me if I would attend a meeting down in, or go down to Lansing for Wednesday, the 24th, for the sewer and water in Bayview. I went down with 3 members of the Hannahville community. I also, a member from the Wells Township Board, member from the Escanaba City Board, or City Manager, actually, Roy Mattson and myself. We went down with 7 people and to try and push through getting funding for the Bayview Sewer and Water. We, like I said, we took off Tuesday afternoon, got down there, 7 o'clock Monday morning, I'm sorry, 7 o'clock Wednesday morning, we were at the Capitol Building. I'm guessing we met with 20 or 30 different people. It was Appropriation Committee heads, the governor's staff, and basically anybody we could get. We went to the floor of both the House and Senate, and they were pulling people, senators and representatives off the floor for us to talk to. We were there until, I think it was 4 or 4:30 on Wednesday, and then drove back. I had short notice. Like I said, I didn't hear about it until Tuesday, or until Sunday, and so I did not have a board meeting to come to. And because of the Open Meetings Act, I wasn't really sure how to skirt and let everybody know what I was doing. And basically, I decided that I was going to go no matter whether I got paid for it or not, because it was that important to this community, I believe. So I am asking for the normal travel expenses, nothing more, nothing less. And it's up to the board whether they want to give that to me.
I'll make a motion that we approve the legislative session with the commissioners' travel to Lansing on the Wells Water and Sewer infrastructure.
So we have a motion by Commissioner View to accept.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one comment. I really appreciate the explanation. I would recommend that when commissioners do stuff like this, it's an emergency thing that if you could just send an email to all the commissioners to the extent that, do not reply, but here's what happened, just like your explanation now. because
FYI type thing.
Yep, because I did get a lot of calls and said, how did the board authorize this? And I says, I had no answer, where I would at least had an answer, and it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, and that's us communicating with each other. So I just have that comment.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of authorizing this indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good, thank you. Contribution to the Township Association picnic. This is a typical thing.
That's
You're the
me.
cook?
The last couple years, I've been doing the cooking out there, and Commissioner Rivard has started this program, and I just kind of took it over, and I'm asking for $250
We have a
to cook the meat.
Can somebody please make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron.
Supported.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion on John's chef skills. All right, all those in favor?
Who's going to it, who's it open to, John?
It's open to all the township association people. It's open to the road commission, all the county commissioners, most of the courthouse. I know Nancy shows up.
And their families?
Ashley, you showed up, so, yeah. So it's open to all those people.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Mellor, for your help. That passes. Registration of Andrea Numalainen, a request for a lump sum payout, and also to fill the airport manager's position. Mr. Hero? A resignation, I'm sorry. You don't need him for this?
Not for number 13.
Oh.
Yeah, we got two things here.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's,
I would make the motion that we pass accept the resignation and pay out the lump sum.
all right, very good. I have a support by, or a motion by Commissioner Peterson.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion.
What happens if you don't support this as a commissioner?
I wouldn't, I
I mean,
don't know.
I hate losing the talent. I'm just asking, what, I mean, is this,
It's not something we can stop.
okay, well, I'm just trying to figure out the method and motive of doing this, except to make it official? Is that basic?
It's
Yeah,
a
okay.
formality.
I mean, I hate to accept it, but I'll support it.
Very good. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now, Mr. Hero, I apologize. Recommendation for the Airport Advisory Board on the,
Those of you that don't know me, I'm Brian Hero. I'm Chair of the Advisory Board. I've been on the board for somewhere around 15 years, to be honest with you. I don't remember when I got on. I am gonna miss Andrea, by the way. So that being said, we do need to move on with the business of the airport. Tonight I have two asks of the county board. The first ask is that we authorize the administrator to post the position so we can immediately start the search for Andrea's replacement. And my other ask is to the finance committee to, let's have a review of where we're gonna start that position from a pay standpoint.
so we could have the Finance Committee set up a meeting very quickly
Yep.
and address that question?
I move that we move on both of those suggestions
We
from
would
the airport board.
approve, your motion would be to approve both of Chairman Hero's
Yes.
suggestions.
I'll support.
Okay, we moved by Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion, gentlemen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you for 15-plus years.
Job description for the HR specialist, administrative clerk, request to fill the position.
So this came out of both the finance and the personnel. I'm not on, sorry. So this came from both the Personnel and Finance Committee. What this is basically my old position as controller HR specialist. We removed the controller position and all their duties, because now the title is administrator controller, the new administrator position. And this person is solely going to be focusing on the HR specialist. We did throw in administrative duties to help with like filing situations, helping give financial information on grants out to the departments, because each department writes their own grants. Very few are written at the administrative level. Besides recently with all the COVID grants, there's been a lot. So I'm just looking for approval to post and fill for this and create this job.
Commissioners? Mr. Peterson, you have, we'll accept your motion, Mr. View, but Mr. Peterson, you have questions?
No, absolutely not. I support this
Okay,
wholeheartedly.
so you'll give support, Mr.
Yep.
View moves, and Bob Peterson would support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That will pass. Very good. Item number 15 would be the MERS update. Okay, so can we have some background on that, please? We have to just formalize what we've
I just
already-
want to formalize and now, what did I do with the paper? Right here. So I just need that, the clarification on purchase of MERS service credit value is for $23,267, which equals to 11 months. And just the county authorizing that this purchase can happen.
Can somebody make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will support it.
Mr. Peterson will move and Mr. Barron will support the acceptance of this motion. Additional discussion, Commissioners? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This item passes. It is time for general public comment. You have 3 minutes to address the board. You get a chance to speak once.
Escanaba. I come to these meetings with an open mind, but man, you gentlemen really grandstand with these civil liberties things. It seems like every discussion gets back to the civil liberties. Someone's taking something away from us. Have you folks really read the bill for the sewer thing? You grandstanded about this too. You think there might be some scientific study associated with this at all? Do you think maybe they've done this because there might be over-eutrophication of waters? Is it possible? Have any of you read the whole bill? I haven't personally done it, and yet you get up here and start grandstanding. This gentleman here grandstands on all kinds of things about civil liberties. When the discussion was the Second Amendment, but then he goes off on this. This is really unbecoming of you folks. You are really unprofessional. My God, is this really what all county commissioner boards are like? I can't believe this. I'm going to go to another thing here. I know you didn't have anything to do with signing this agreement, this contract for Mr. Mattson. Have you read the contract, gentlemen? Have you looked at the contract? A contract lawyer should have looked at this. He's written into this contract that when he leaves on December 31st, he's going to get $50,000 handed to him. If he's terminated before, he gets his salary all the way to December 31st. Now listen, gentlemen, am I paying part of that $50,000? Am I going to be paying part of that as a taxpayer? This is crap. There needs to be lawyers, there needs to be contract lawyers looking at these things, I'm sorry, for you too. Contract lawyers. Okay? You need to think about this. You guys go off half-cocked about all these things. Think about this stuff. Articulate things when you come to the meetings. Get your points down and articulate them. Base it with fact. You guys just passed something, the Second Amendment thing. It was a draft, for God's sakes. He said it was a draft. And you said, okay, mental health. You went up on mental health. Seriously? Are you serious, sir? You want them to not defund mental health in our country? Are you joking? Do you think you might ever need some mental health care someday? And if you do that, come on now. Come on, start acting like professionals. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just please state your name.
My name is Kay Rollins, and I don't really think I want to follow him. I just wanted to clarify something with regards to the building and zoning and the cost of commercial permits. I happen to know the past secretary that worked there for almost 30 years, so I texted her. Do you remember why Delta County lowered building permit costs for commercial years ago? And she answered, because Dan, I think his name was Manicure or something like that? Okay, because Dan thought they were too high and talked the board into using a fee schedule he had in Menominee County. That is why the prices for the permits for commercial were lowered, not because there was too much money, okay? I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Hi, Deb Abramson, Wells Township. First of all, I would like all of the people that spoke about the Second Amendment, thank you very much. We all need to remember that. We need to remember our rights. The same thing or the Constitution that gives us the rights to bear arms also gives us free speech. However, as I've been a nurse for 41 years, 28 in critical care, 13 in the emergency department. I've seen the damage that guns do. And it's not all irresponsible gun owners or gun wielders. I can't even begin to tell you how many people have come into our ER that have tried to commit suicide with a gun. The trauma to the nursing staff, the trauma worse to the family. I still have the sounds of mother's screams in my head after 30-some years when her child found an unsecured gun and shot himself, and he died. As responsible gun owners, we have to know it's not just a thing. We have to see, look, children since the 1700s have been killed, maimed, or psychologically injured because of guns. If we keep our guns, fine. But then as responsible gun owners in Delta County, I challenge you to start working on some of the things that are causing this. Any one of you could become so depressed that you would want to kill yourself. 65% of all suicides in Delta County have been done with guns. 65%. They are our sons, our daughters, our husbands, our elderly. I had to sit and wrap an elderly man's head with a towel, several towels, so his wife could sit and hold his hand as he died. I have had to, because they thought, while they were drunk, they were responsible gun owners, but they got drunk. They shot off their jaws, and I had to sit there for months debriding their chins and their faces, only for them to get discharged and go out and shoot themselves again and kill themselves. It's great to say I'm a responsible gun owner, but you have to keep in mind the end result of a gun. Also, what does it do to your brain when you shoot somebody? Well, how many accidental shootings have we had in the last month or 2 months? Do you think a young man just,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you very much for your time. State your name and
My name is Diane Weber, and there's two things that I'd like to share right now. First of all, I want to commend all the people on this board. Okay, not just for what was done tonight, but I have the respect that even though I don't agree with everything you say, I have the respect to look at you and see the flack that you take from the people out here. And I would like to suggest that when you have a concern that you want to talk about, you should talk about it amongst yourself first so that there isn't flack coming from each one of you towards the other. You hear enough of it out here. Second thing I'd like to say is for prayer. I commend you for prayer because it is not prayer that makes faith. It's faith that activates your prayer. And that means when you're saying a prayer here and you're saying that it's for whatever you believe in, then that should be your prayer to activate your faith. And so I believe in the Bible and the Lord Jesus Christ. When you're praying, that activates my prayer towards Him. And that's the way it should be with all of us, not just saying that we have to give everybody a chance. We just did. The third thing I'd like to say is what was just spoke about just now. I want to tell you that I have a brother that committed suicide. Was it the gun's fault? I have a friend that her son hung himself from a tree. Was it the rope's fault? No. There was something mentally. Let's look at some of the songs that they're singing. Let's look at some of the games they're playing on this thing all the time. These things, the television, it is a form of mental health. It's not the gun who did it. It's not the car who did it when the drunk driver got in there. It's not the rope who did it. And I'd just like to again say, I commend all of you that you sit here and take the flack that you do.
Thank you.
General comment.
Thank you. I wondered if it was working all night, because I sit close, but. Thank you. Okay, this is my third time at this podium since this board voted in their usual 3-2 fashion to eliminate Zoom on April 4th. I also submitted a letter to the editor, which was printed 5/11/23. Despite Mr. Moyle's assurance that he shares my concerns for the disabled and revisit this topic, nothing has been done. Instead, he has made comments on Facebook that it would cost $75,000. Despite many citizens asking why the current administrator cannot perform this duty like the previous administrator did, we are ignored. I submitted a FOIA, Freedom of Information, request 5/17/23. By law, FOIAs should be addressed in 5 days unless a notice to extend response time is filed. Guess what? An extension was filed, which extended their response time until, wait for it, tomorrow. The form has a section for specifically indicating why the extension is needed, and the administrator left this section blank. I made 2 social media posts asking Delta County citizens if they too would like to occasionally voice concerns, but found it a hardship to attend meetings. I had an overwhelming response of 43 people, 44 counting myself, who wished to have their names included. I have been respectful in my inquiries as to why we cannot have access to Zoom. I have asked over and over again why the administrator can't perform this duty. I have asked for transparency regarding Mr. Moyle's statement that Zoom would cost $75,000. I found out this week that the jail provides Zoom to the inmates. The jail is in the same complex. Because I have received 0 answers, I can only presume the band of 3 on this board is intentionally denying its citizens the right to free speech. I would like this included. Thank you.
Comment, please.
General public comment.
My name is Paul Cavallero, and I live in Gladstone, and heard comments about the Second Amendment here. I'd like to thank all of you people for your service in the county, and also standing up and for our constitutional rights. I heard a lot about all these kids and children that have been killed and people who do suicide. There's a very interesting book out there. It's called How to Make a Monster and Why Nobody Does Anything. What it has to do is, he went through and he looked at every single one of the shootings that have happened in this country over the last 20 years. There are three things in common with these people. Number one, broken families. Number two, they've also been bullied in school by their teachers, by fellows, on the internet, whatever. Number three, almost all of them were giving psycho drugs for depression. This is a mental health issue. In 1950s, I have a buddy of mine who could get on a Chicago bus with a .22 caliber rifle over his shoulder and go to high school. There were no drive-by shootings. There were no shoot-ups in the schools. What has changed? How about culture? How about the way you people look at things? How about the taking of God out of our schools? How about taking God out of this committee? I know people who do not want to see prayers here.
Mr. Cavallaro, can you direct your comments to the board, not out there, please? Thank you.
So, what I'm getting at is the fact that there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and the root. You have to ask yourself, what is the root problems? What is the root cause of it? Somebody came in and shot somebody. Why did they shoot him? He was angry. Why was he angry? He was under medication, he was bullied, he was all these other mental issues. Not one of the things, if you ask for what the root cause is, will you ever hear, the gun jumped up and killed everybody. It doesn't happen. Get your heads out of your rectums and start learning what's really going on. There's a lot of information out there that is truthful, and there's a lot of BS. Thank you very much for your time.
General public comment, please direct your comments to the board.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you.
Judy Adamini here, mother of David, proud mother of David, and an extremely proud grandmother of my grandson, who is a doctor, who worked in the COVID ICU unit when the disease first hit for 10 months. I would have a question for you, Mr. Barron. Where did you get your science degree from? And how dare you sit up there in a public forum and discuss Dr. Fauci the way you did? Sir, what is wrong with you? I am just absolute. It's never a time when I'm in here and you don't
Please.
cease to amaze me. And it's not in a good way. I have had COVID hit my family. My grandson, 10 months, administered to people in the beginning where he was buying his own protective equipment. His other yaya, who had a stroke, was brought to the hospital, laid in the hallway for 2 days, contacted the disease, and my grandson had to tell his mother, Mom, don't intube Yaya. You get hospice. So don't sit there and denigrate someone in a situation that you know nothing about. How dare you? I have one more question left for you. Same question I asked you the last time I was up here. Sir, have you no shame?
State your name and welcome.
My name is Brian Godfrey. I'm the president of Delta County Gun Owners Association. I'm actually speechless. What I've realized getting into politics and everything else is both sides are broken. One side don't want to listen to the other side doesn't want to listen to the other. Doesn't mean there's not good suggestions on either side. But getting into the suicide thing, 2001, I got hit by a drunk driver. I had to go through a lot of surgeries. 2019, I got hit by somebody texting and driving. Snapped my arm off, broke my neck. 2003, I tried to kill myself in the hospital. So when somebody says they don't care about mental health, that hits me here. And I'm not saying anybody up here, what I'm saying is, it's misdiagnosed, it's not underfunded. No one caught what was going on. Once I had all the surgeries going on, first thing that went downhill, my marriage. Once my marriage went downhill and they said, you're not gonna be able to do anything anymore, guess where my brain went? What am I gonna amount to? Nowadays, one of the things is, I'm an FFL dealer, I own Lone Wolf Guns and Ammo in the state of Michigan. I've talked to the ATF agents, one of the things that they are looking at with the red flag laws is if you have PTSD, they will remove your guns. If you are taking any type of antidepressant, you will be put on a list. If you don't think they're coming for them, they are. Now, as far as my depression, I have no more because I found a new place to be. I go to the gym, I ride my bike, I walk, I found a way around taking anything. So I just thank each and every person up here because after taking over Delta County Commission, or Delta County Gun Owners, once you get into that politics ring, you're no longer a couch, referee. Can't be yelling at the TV anymore saying, you should have done this, you should have done this, you should have ran faster, you should have passed farther. I'm gonna tell you right now, when you get in the middle of it and you're in charge, it's a whole different ballgame. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or how you vote. I thank you for being up here and putting up with everything that you do on a monthly and weekly basis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Comment, please.
Kim Knopf-Wyckoff, and I'm here to talk about the annexation and give you an update. Mr. Barron's foot soldiers collected 489 signatures from Escanaba Township. Of those, 73 are not landowners, as required by law. 214 want their name removed. 5 are deceased. 14 sign they are opposed to annexation, but not the form to remove their name. And there's 1 duplicate, bringing the number of valid signatures to 182, which is only 8.9%, and 20% is required. 20% of signatures is required to be a valid petition. So we have an invalid petition. There was a new petition that was brought in for posting at the town hall on May 24th. According to the law that Mr. Barron wants to follow, notice in writing of an intended application under Section 14, subscribed by those freeholders as required by Section 14, shall be posted in 5 of the most public places in each of the affected townships during the 4 weeks before submission of the application to the County Board of Commissioners. The date on the new petition is June 20th, essentially making the posting a day late, which makes it an invalid petition. Also, according to that law that Mr. Barron wants to follow, a copy of the notice shall also be published once each week for 4 successive weeks immediately preceding the meeting of the County Board of Commissioners at which the application is to be made in a newspaper printed in the county, if any are published in the county. The first publication was on May 24th, essentially making the publication a day late. Once again, an invalid petition. Also, the publication on May 24th and May 31st do not list any freeholders in Cornell Township. All the names that are listed are declared to be from Escanaba Township. I believe these errors need to be corrected, and a new date needs to be chosen for the commissioners to review this with no new postings and publications, because the law that Mr. Barron wants to follow is very clear in that. We have collected so far 650 people who are opposed to this annexation. We collected these signatures within a few short weeks, while it took Mr. Barron and Mr. Meyer nearly 2 years to collect their 489 signatures. Of the nearly 250 families who are going to be annexed into Cornell Township, 81 families oppose the annexation, which is 32.9% of the annexed properties. If this invalid petition is voted on, as it stands right now, this board is allowing 9 landowners to violate the personal rights of nearly 250 families. Some of these 9 landowners have made it very clear that they don't care about anybody else's rights other than their own. So, in true Mr. Barron fashion, I'm going to leave you with a quote. Don't interrupt the opponent when they are in the process of destroying themselves.
General comment, please. Could you bring the mic down so you could, thank you, ma'am.
Sure, forgot. On May 23rd, the meeting on solar was supposed to start at 5:30, but it started late. It seemed to be ill-prepared for, and we were allowed to ask Mr. Goud, I believe his name was, questions after the presentation. He had made a statement in his presentation that I wanted to question him about, and it was clear communication. I agree, but Bob, you couldn't have demonstrated any better or clearer your lack of interest in listening to the public. I had raised my hand to question Mr. Goud, and when it was my turn to speak, you said this meeting was closed because it was getting late. Of course it was getting late. It started late. Leaders lead by example, not control. Good leaders lead by example, not intimidation, which, by the way, seeing pistols in these meetings is very intimidating. It is always stated, order or I will call the cops. I think it would be a good idea to allow the cops to do their job and allow us to attend these meetings without being threatened or intimidated by guns carried by the board members. Now back to leadership. Like I said, some people lead by example, not by shutting others up or doing their own agenda, underhanded, sneaky, lies, cheating, stealing, or using their mouth as a weapon, holding others hostage by not shutting up, not listening, not taking others' viewpoints into consideration. As a board member, you need to keep the greater good of the citizens and the community always in mind, not yourself. And a few friends, not yourself, and a few friends, and your own financial gain. Thank you for listening.
Comment, please.
Chris Williams, Ford River Township. I just wanted to let the board know, I've brought forward some concerns about the Conservation District and the parks management, and a little over $478,000 that was taken from the park funds as administration. And I do want to let you know that the board of the Conservation District has put me on their agenda for their June 20th meeting to address some of these financial concerns. I have been working with an accountant on the finances, and I do have some information to share. And so if you're concerned or if you're interested, I would encourage you to attend. And anyone in the public who is interested in understanding the Conservation District's finances and how some of our park monies have been allocated, if you are interested in hearing more about that, I would encourage you to attend that January 20th board meeting.
June?
Sorry, that's my birthday is January, so I was thinking of January. June, yes, June 20th. And it is posted on their website that the board meeting is June 20th. There is no time that's posted, but I'm assuming it's 2 p.m. Since if there is no time posted, I think it defaults to their time of 2 p.m. So I would encourage you to just keep looking at the website to make sure that that date and time is correct. It has been changing frequently, so do check on that. Thank you.
Thank you. General public comment, please. General public comment.
I have one, Commissioner. It's from Steven Krupski.
Okay.
From Escanaba. He gave this to me actually last May 16th, but it was during the meeting, so I waited for today's meeting. Let me get my timer going on myself. It says, hello, I would like to address the decision to hire Ashley as county administrator. Personally, I feel the board made the correct choice in choosing not only Delta County resident, but a well-educated individual. I would also like to say, despite the negative bullying comments she has received, She should know that there are many of us that support her having that role. Hiring a county administrator assistant, I also support, as anyone who has worked in administration role can attest to. Many functions of the job can be a large time drain that takes focus away from the most important work. Thank you.
Thank you. General public comment?
Kelly Vangenhoven, City of Escanaba, reading on behalf of Andrea Newmelin. My name is Andrea Newmelin, former manager of the Delta County Airport. What I have to say extends beyond my 3-minute allotment, so I have asked people to read what I cannot get to in my time. In my capacity as manager, I have served the people of our community and beyond to the best of my ability. It was always my goal to give the citizens of our county a sense of ownership and pride in our gem of an airport. I constantly received compliments on the exceptional service people received when they traveled through our area. We have the most courteous TSA staff, the most helpful airline representatives, a bustling car rental, and for the general aviation side, we boast an exceptional operations staff. I wish I could take credit for these accomplishments, but they were in place long before my tenure. It was my distinct honor, however, to continue this tradition of excellence by giving my support and attention, and above all, letting every stakeholder in that airport know that I care deeply about their continued success. And that was my main role, maintaining a structure that ensured the success of the operations of all the people in the airport. I was not perfect, but I did my best every day knowing that I held a position of trust and honor in our community and that I have never taken that for granted. The firing of Administrator DeSalvo was a blow. I saw a qualified and exceptional leader removed in an emotion-based decision. I say that because it has been reiterated multiple times that none of the commissioners went into that meeting intending to fire Ms. DeSalvo. Therefore, I can only conclude that the words she spoke were enough to cause you to make such an impactful decision based solely on your raw emotions in the heat of the moment. We need rational minds, not ruled by emotions, in positions of leadership. I am here tonight because it is important our community knows what has gone on behind the scenes. I can only comment on the things that happened to me, but I am under no illusion that it may be happening in other areas of our county too. I received an email from a concerned citizen containing a screenshot of a post from the Delta County Just the Facts Facebook page. The message on that post reads as follows. A reminder for those who have received the invite details. I will be up from Florida next week, and those of you who are involved with the issues at the airport, its lack of management, and the possible massive security breach last fall, we will be having a dinner meeting on next steps while I am in town. It will be at the casino in Bark River next Wednesday at 5:30. The emails have the details about the sports bar area, dinner and drinks, and discussion on issues we have uncovered in the last few months. Commissioner Moyle, who served on the airport board for over a decade and should know how serious claims of security issues at an airport are, replied,
Thank you.
"Travel safe, my
Sorry.
friend."
Thank you. General public comment, please. General public comment.
Andrea Newmelin, former airport manager, also currently known as the girl. As the manager of the airport, it is my duty to report any suspected security issues. So I forwarded this information on, not knowing what this possible security breach was. I did not get much of a response from TSA with my submittal, and I did not expect it. I knew they were going to have to treat it like it was a legitimate claim, and I would also be under federal scrutiny. When I passed the information on, I let the federal official know that having the chairman of the County Board of Commissioners and former member of the airport board comment on such a serious matter gave it a level of legitimacy, and I was very worried about scaring the public. Did I think this was a bogus claim? Yes. I had spoken with my operations staff and the TSA officers at the airport. No one could think of a single thing that would constitute a massive security breach. I had communications with many people throughout the day, making sure everyone knew this information had been sent along to the necessary channels, and if there were any questions, to please reach out to me. I also made sure our airport board chair, Brian Hero, was given every detail so that he could answer any questions as well. In light of the Facebook post, I understood there were obviously people who questioned my competency. I wanted to make sure there was a trusted source they could go to if they did not trust me. A couple days later in a meeting with Brian Hero, we were notified by a federal official that this incident was moving along TSA channels and was also being investigated by the FBI. Security threats and investigations are obviously something that airports have to deal with every day due to the strict safety and security requirements. But I was unprepared for the stress heaped onto me over this particular incident because it was beginning to look more and more like an attempt to get rid of me. I still had no idea what this possible massive security breach could be. Luckily, 2 people, for reasons I hope include realizing the severity of the claim and possible adverse impact on our community, decided to tell me what this massive security breach was. The massive security breach was Kelly Vangenhoven taking a tour of the airport last fall, something that's not even remotely a security breach. One of the people told me this in a phone call. The other told me this in my office with our airport board, Brian Hero, also in attendance. So when you try to gaslight me in your commissioner comments, know that one of these admissions was witnessed, and both were offered up willingly. Also know that the 2 people who told me are sitting up there with you now, and it was neither Commissioner Melner nor Commissioner View. Commissioner Moyle gave legitimacy to a disgusting lie that wasted people's time from the county, all the way up to the federal government. Brian Hero called him to ask him about this new revelation. Commissioner Moyle denied knowing about the security breach in the Facebook post made by his friend that he personally commented on, but told Brian Hero that he was not happy I gave Vangenhoven a tour and called it unprofessional. Hero replied,
Thank you.
No, sir. Extended?
No. Sorry, 3 minutes. If we extend for one, we have to extend for
No,
everyone.
you don't. If there's information.
That's my ruling. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I was hanging on every word. Absolutely.
General public comment. State your name and thank you.
Hi, my name is Christiana Reynolds. I'm from Escanaba, and I'm going to continue Andrea's statement so that everyone has the privilege of hearing it. All right. Oh, hold on one second. Thank you. All right. I'm good, thank you. All right. Commissioners Moyle and Barron also took it upon themselves to visit the airport while I was conveniently out on vacation. People described that visit as what they perceived to be a mission to find dirt on me. In light of claims that came from their field trip, I believe that to be true as well. I should congratulate Commissioner Moyle on his sudden interest in the airport, considering you only made a fraction of your airport meetings and are no longer on the airport board. It is also important to note that they never contacted anyone from the airport board, including Commissioners Peterson and View, the county board liaisons, about their trip to the airport. Commissioners Moyle and Barron had the opportunity to speak with any of my personnel while they were out on their reconnaissance mission, and they did not. What they succeeded in doing was upsetting many people and wasting my time. What Commissioner Moyle thought was incriminating evidence of my dereliction of duties was all things that were already part of the airport's strategic plan, and he would have known that had he bothered to show up for any of his airport board meetings. Vangenhoven toured 3 other county facilities during the campaign. To my knowledge, it has only been me that has been called unprofessional. Sheriff Oswald was not called out. The VSO manager was not called out. I wonder what is the difference about me. Commissioner Moyle referred to me as the girl in Saturday's edition of the Daily Press. Microaggressions like this are unfortunately still prevalent in our society. Luckily, the court system is finding such overt attempts to demean and invalidate people as discrimination on the basis of sex. The third party obtained by the county to oversee the harassment claim I filed against Commissioner Moyle found no legal harassment. But I wonder how different the outcome would have been had the commissioner's Daily Press interview come out during that investigation. In your 13 years as a commissioner, have you ever referred to a male department head as the boy? No, you have not. Calling the sheriff the boy would be ridiculous, and I assure you, calling me the girl is every bit as ridiculous to people who understand women are also worthy of respect. You and your sycophants can call into question my professionalism and my dedication to my position. That's fine, because I question yours.
Thank you.
Public comment, please. General public comment.
I'm Terry Newmelin, the girl's mom. I could not yet sit upright in a chair as I held these meetings, but there was no one else to step in. The Delta County Airport Board was incredible. This volunteer board aided me in managing the rapid transitions we needed to make and were excellent in their leadership and advocacy for our county. There were open and constant communications with every member of the airport board except one. Commissioner Moyle was absent throughout this critical time. I have seen so many terrible decisions come out of this board. I have watched as sound research was ignored and replaced with the words, "I think." I have watched as our standards are lowered regularly, and the final insult came with the hiring of the new county administrator. After reviewing the credentials of the other candidates, it is impossible to understand how they were passed by for someone who was less qualified. The airport faces more monumental changes in the very near future. It will take coordinated effort, and it will be a challenge with experienced leadership. I was exhausted at the knowledge that the kind of support from the administrator I needed and I was accustomed to would very likely not be there, as we have chosen someone who is unprepared by this pivotal position. I have heard the claim that this was a planned exit on my part, that I am leaving the county just the way I wanted. If that is the case, I really committed to my role. I was set to graduate last month with my master's degree in public administration. Due to the stress and anxiety of the last few months and all I have dealt with, a pretty near straight A student, failed one of my classes. I did not graduate and have to retake a class costing me time and thousands of dollars. That is quite the personal sacrifice to hurt the county I love.
General public comment, please.
Chris DeSalvo, Escanaba, Emily DeSalvo's mom, as Andrea's mom just spoke. I'm going to finish up here. Terry missed the part about why she couldn't stand to do her job and she had to take a leave. So that part is stated. In July of 22, I was out on a medical leave after having major surgery. My doctor required me to be off for 6 weeks to recover. 2 weeks post-op, I got word from SkyWest about the major changes that we're making to our air service to combat the pilot shortage facing our nation. I pleaded with my doctor to give me a note that allowed me to work from home so that I could organize meetings with the airport board, TSA, airline, Department of Transportation, and my staff to manage the challenges we faced. Thus, that's the reason she couldn't even sit upright in a chair and was working from home. Now I'll go on to where I continue this. The truth is, I've been frantically waving my hand. It hasn't been to say hello. It's because I've been drowning. And I will not forget who threw me in the water and held my head under. There were people who knew what was going on, but did not say anything or call anyone out. To the people that have supported me and helped me along the way, you have my fervent gratitude. And I made it through because of you. I'm heartbroken to leave, but I can no longer work under the leadership that I do not respect. So I cannot even begin to understand, Commissioner Moyle, how you're surprised at my departure and how the fact that I blame you comes from any type of shock. Boys like you will remain boys. You will hurt whoever you need to hurt to achieve your goal. You'll risk scaring people away from our airport as it furthers your agenda. You will waste the people's time. You will abuse your position. Girls like me become women who don't tolerate boys like you.
Wait a minute, Ben, for a moment.
Okay, Ben Weber, Gladstone, Michigan.
Thank you.
I see 5 commissioners that have a backbone, that have I have the floor, please yield.
Continue.
I see commissioners with a backbone, and I know one thing, the founding fathers would be very proud of you right now. But what I want to talk about is the sheriff. The sheriff is probably the most influential individual in the country other than the president. I want you to get the sheriff's name on that petition, on that resolution. I also want you to get the Sheriff's Association approval with this resolution. This is going to speak volumes when you get your sheriff signed on to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
General comment, please.
You have 3 minutes to speak to the board. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Dave Adamini, Wells Township. A couple people have come up and talked about the board. Always appreciate when they show up. That's their job. This public forum is the people's comment, not to go after the board, but to direct your displeasure or pleasure with what they're doing. We've seen some of both. If you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen. It's not personal. I don't think people are picking on you personally. I think they're displeased or pleased with the decisions you make as a board as you represent us as a county. Resolutions, hey, let's get back to the other one from COVID. We talked about that a little bit. I know you guys probably thought you were trying to help. But would it have been much help if there had been an outbreak in one of those businesses that deviated from the state policy and went with your county resolution? And again, I'll ask, is there a insurance fund or a rider that I'm not aware of to cover any potential lawsuits that might have arisen from that, had that happened? And as far as, so that being said, I don't really expect an answer to that, but if somebody knows, I would appreciate it. We talked about other stuff in the community. We are a small community. It's not just people in Michigan watching us. It's people all over the world at this point. And that's the reason I'm up here, not because I like to hear myself speak. I typically don't. I'm here because I think I need to be, because I'm not pleased with the direction the board's moving in and some of the decisions they're making, so I'm here speaking as I'm entitled to and everyone else is. What I would like to see is the divisiveness that's being squished in. If you look at the end of that resolution on the COVID and read the language in that, I don't have it in my pocket, but it was very political and very divisive. Do you honestly think any political party would have pushed an agenda to make themselves unpopular? I don't believe that for a second. Now, let's get back to what we should be doing. We should be working together. We are a small community. I don't think there's anybody here that wouldn't lend a hand to their neighbor if they needed something. My well went to heck. My neighbor let me use their hose and get water so I could use and stay in my home until I could get it fixed. That's the kind of stuff that we should be doing. We shouldn't be pitting each other against each other. And if we can't, then we'll move on. But I got a couple of seconds here, so let's talk about some stuff. Let's address the Zoom. There's a rumor going around that Zoom isn't to do with anything financially. It has to do with an individual that's wearing an ankle bracelet so he can attend the meetings. Now, that may or may not be true, but that is the rumor going around. And I'd be happy to give up 10 seconds of my time if someone could address that, because I worked at the VA, and we had Zoom in almost every single room in that facility. So I don't know what the holdup is or why this $75,000 number has come up. Or I heard 79 at one point, but I think we should address that and move on so people who need to attend can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
General public comment.
You have 3 minutes to address the board. General public comment. General public comment, please. Please, quiet in the audience, please. Respect people's ability to and right to speak. Go ahead.
Members of the board, I'm Reed Hyken. I'm the guy with the ankle bracelet. I also have permission from a judge supporting my First Amendment right to attend these meetings. What you people ought to be concerned about, what your community ought to be concerned about, is the people in this community that are talking to you and are basically struggling and striving to suppress my First Amendment rights. The reason I'm wearing this ankle bracelet is because I exercise my First Amendment rights. So we have affirmed that we are a Second Amendment sanctuary county. All the members of this board voted to do so. I congratulate you. The people in this room ought to pay attention to the First Amendment rights that they sit back and allow to be infringed upon at will for political purposes because somebody wants to be someone rather than to do something. I'm wearing the ankle bracelet. Somebody wants to know why? Come ask me. I'll be happy to tell you, because you know what? I'm not ashamed of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. General public comment? General public comment. Last call, please. General public comment?
Joe's coming in.
All right,
with
very
that.
good. Take your time. No rush. Please state your name and Mr. Kaplan, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Also thank the board for your action and what you do, and I commend you for moving towards free speech. I remember Dave in particular, we argued about whether or not public comment is a privilege or a right last fall, and I think that we've moved in the right direction, and I commend you for that. And there's no one here that is being denied a First Amendment right, and it keeps getting better and better, and I hope we continue in that direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. General public comment, please. General public comment. One last call, please, for general public comment. General public comment is closed. Mr. Peterson, Commissioner's concerns.
Yeah. One thing there was brought up about us commissioners should discuss things before we come in here that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. I just wanted to get that out. The contract that was spoken of with Rory Mattson, I don't have the one between the district and the county with me, so I can't tell you, but it sounded to me more like the contract that Mr. Mattson has with the Soil and Conservation District, which we have no control over. They're a separate, completely separate entity. And the last thing I'd like to say is that I totally, 100% stand behind my decision to hire Ashley Young as our county administrator. She, in the 3 months preceding us hiring her, she did a wonderful job as an interim, and she has done a wonderful job since. She has stepped up to every single challenge. She has, maybe she does not have a master's degree, but she's got common sense and she's got drive and she's got heart. And I will stand with her every single day. And the attacks on her, if you want to attack me, you go right on ahead. But leave her out of it. She's doing her job and she's doing a good job. And that's all I have to say on this.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
my commissioner comments. Thank you.
Mr. View.
I'll pick a couple. There's so many good things to talk about. As far as Zoom, I'm for Zoom. If we could, I have no idea on the cost of Zoom, except it's a $250 fee a year, and I think, in my opinion, it could still be ran. I would be willing to do it if the board would let me, or if we get a volunteer. I mean, I'm just for Zoom, even if it brings in 3 additional people in the community to hear what we have to say. The VSO, I already spoke about that. We'll see where that goes. At the spring conference with the county commissioners, we talked about the Michigan indigenous defense. I have a hard time with words. I had an impediment when I was a kid. What was it?
Indigent defense. Or
Indigent. See, when someone says it for me, I can pronounce it. Thank you. We're eventually going to have to move into partnership, or we're looking into partnership with another county. And I noticed Marquette was listed as one of ours, but I'd also like to extend that hand out to maybe Menominee or Schoolcraft to see how many could get in with that partnership. We had a legislative forum. I'm not going to go through what all the people talked about, but I did make a couple good contacts. And it was Jack Bergman's caseworker out of Gwin. I've already mentioned her, Dawn Curley. So if I have some issues, I can get connected with her, what issues that the people of the community needs real good answers with. And also a gentleman named Jay Gage. He's out of Sault Ste. Marie. He's the regional manager for Debbie Stabenow, our senator. So it doesn't, a lot of things don't have to do with politics. They just have to do with good things for the community. And I'm finding out knowing the right people to go for the right answers does become an important part of getting the stuff for the people. I attended the Gladstone City Commission meeting, my first one since being a commissioner, even though I represent the city of Gladstone. It was nice to introduce myself to them, even though I sent emails to them letting them know that I'm available for any issues, county issues within their jurisdiction. While I was there, I was impressed with the little presentation they had with the Gladstone Brave Bots. They had a presentation. It was very interesting, and they did go to Houston for the World's Finals. So we have a lot of good school participation in Gladstone for the commission. They also talked about a new business, a brewing company called Saunders Point that's going to be coming into Gladstone. So we're gonna, my little district is gonna get some another new business in the community, and I thought that was pretty nice too to let the people know. Let's see what else I want to talk about. Oh, the Escanaba Planning Commission, I was at their meeting last night. Oh, they start at 7:30, so you're all till 8:30, 9:15, and that was my fourth meeting of the night. But they have a 5-member board. They need 2 additional members, so anyone that's out in that community, Escanaba Township, send your application in on, I guess their office is open on Wednesday. Give them a call or check their internet website, which I checked out. It's very, very convenient to find anything you want on that website. It's not really complicated. It's not flashy, but it sure has a good purpose, and I really appreciate what they did there with their service on that. They also elected a new chair last night. Nate Newmeyer is the new chair, and the vice chair, Barbie Claremont. And they had one new commissioner. I forgot what his name was. I thought it was Mitch or something, but they're all going to go for training on zoning issues. So we should have a very well-informed board within a few months on issues that I feel that the county is going to be involved with, especially by the end of the year on zoning, if we don't plan stuff. So last thing, airport manager. First, I was happy to meet that Robin Morrison. I helped do the interview on her. She was hired. Her second or third day when we had our meeting the other day. It's a lot of pressure on her. She looked like the deer in the headlights, but she looks like she'll step up to the challenge. I want to thank Andrea. She made me feel real welcome on the board. Created an environment where all my knowledge and questions, I probably extended the meetings an extra hour being new on the board. I don't want to pick sides of who's right or who's wrong, but I wish her luck in everything she does, and I know she's going to show the value and of good government in whatever she does, because she has integrity, objectivity, honesty, and transparency, and she's committed to the principles of that for everything she's does, and I learned that in a few short months. I just can't imagine losing talent like that, but we'll move forward and we'll find someone to continue in that role. So other than that, thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone that attends our meetings.
Mr. Mellor.
Just a couple of things. Thank you, Andrea, for your years of service, and thank you for everything you did. in the sheriff department, they had 2 promotions. There was I hope I don't kill his name too bad, Steve Kozowski.
Kaczynski.
Kaczynski. He was promoted to sergeant. And Kurt Wilson, he was promoted to lieutenant. So thank those guys when you see them.
Nancy? Ashley?
Yeah, I do have a couple statements. So to clarify, to address the Rory's contract for $50,000 in the no termination, that was with the Conservation District. That was not with the Delta County. Another thing is Brandon did send out an email to all commissioners regarding the Zoom estimate and why. I just want to clarify, I know it's been back and forth. So Zoom was brought on because of COVID. As COVID was dwindling down, because the pandemic, obviously nobody was guessing that that was going to happen, and we just Band-Aided and put together all these wires. And if you've watched all the previous Zoom, the quality is not great. You can hear this. You can hear somebody else that can unmute themselves and you start hearing their conversations. So the reason what we're asking is if this is something that you want to do, it's going to be a cost to make sure that it's done properly. One thing is Zoom is related to roundtable discussions. That's why you see them with the jail was brought up. That's back and forth conversation between 2 people, not 80 to 100 people and only the board is conducting, and then, the other people are supposed to stay silent until public comment. And that's where we're at. So it's just 2 different types of meetings that are happening during those Zoom meetings. Same thing, there was meetings, you brought up Commissioner View about one with the Michigan, was it MAC? That's a Zoom, but I'm sure it was back and forth, everybody was talking, because I'm a part of a lot of Zoom meetings, and it's all back and forth, everyone's talking. This is not that type of meeting. So that was just a couple pieces, and also if you have any questions, Brandon Cavillion from IT, he will answer anything. He sent out, and it'll be part of your FOIA, we will get that out tomorrow, about the Zoom estimate, it's all included in there. So if you have any other questions, just please feel free to contact myself or the IT director.
Mr. Barron? Thank you. A couple of things. I asked to be here, so I'll take the heat. I did go out to the airport on February 23. I had no intention on undermining anybody. Billy Rood is coming in, and we're having between 2,000 and 2,500 contractors coming in and out of our community. My concern was, how can we get these big jets like Iron Mountain and Houghton have got? I certainly didn't go out there trying to undermine anybody, and I didn't speak ill of anybody. I asked Delta, what can we do? How can we show you that we like you? In retrospect, I probably should have, but I don't know when staff is on vacation, so it wasn't like I planned behind anybody's back. And I've known Andrea since she's been a kid, and that's why I said it was probably a dumb thing to say. The girl, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm not happy to see her go. I am very grateful that democracy takes place. It doesn't stop when people disagree. That's when it really begins. So even if you're beating the hell out of me, which some of you do, you have a right to do that. And so I'm not asking for excuse. I'm grateful for those who come tonight to support the Second Amendment. You can't grandstand the Second Amendment. It's bigger than all of us, but it's, I think, essential and fundamental to let the people at the higher political levels know that this country will save itself at the local level. Because at the national level and the state level, I think we're heading down the wrong track. So I will take a look at the next regular Board of Commissioner meeting is on 6/20/23 at 5:15. Oh, by the way, Kim, thank you, Kim, for coming in with that information. I found it very useful that you brought in. Regular Board of Commissioner meetings is on 7/18/23 at 5:15 p.m. in the Service Center. 30-day appointments, I don't believe we have any, so an order to adjourn would be inappropriate. All right, all in favor, leave. Thank you.